What's up, everybody? Welcome to We Have Cool Friends, the cool show where we interview our cool friends about the cool things we're doing. I'm Greg, and this is my cool friend, Andrea Rene.
What's good, Greg?
Not much. You're on this show now.
It's true.
I know, right? It's weird.
It's my second time on this show this week.
Oh, yeah, that threw me. You threw me for a time loop there. Especially, so what's happening, ladies and gentlemen, of course, is that you all demanded. Now, you didn't request it, you demanded it on the Reddit, on the Twitter, that before Andrea went to LA, we needed to do, we have cool friends with her. So, of course, we said, all right. And also, Tim told me a week before you all started telling me. But we're recording this, a couple hours after we filmed the final Kind of Funny Games Daily, but before we record the Kind of Funny Games cast. And
Correct.
We have no idea when this is going up. Because I haven't thought that far ahead. And I got
so talk about evergreen stuff is what you're saying.
Exactly. Well, yeah, I don't think we're going to get in. Man, it's hard to believe it's only 2016. Or, you know what I mean? Getting to something like that. If you didn't know, We Have Cool Friends. This is the cool show where we interview our cool friends about the cool things they're doing. If you like that, you should be a part of it. You can go to patreon.com/kindoffunny, jump in the friend zone, ask questions like so many of you have. You now have the record for most questions asked.
What?
Which is saying something. Yeah, there was a ton of questions for Andrea Rene.
That's awesome.
That usually gets you, no, I guess it doesn't. You can get the show ad-free there. That's how that happens on Patreon. We usually do it live on Twitch, not today because of the fact that it's out of the ordinary. We have sponsors and Patreon producers. Here they are. Because, I don't know where this is going. I don't know. I don't know who it is. I can't, when's it going up? Can't do it, Kev, you know? You have to wait for it, Kev. You know how it is. Andrea.
Yes. What's up?
A founder of What's Good Games.
That is correct.
This is the other thing about it, too. You have a very unique position as well, I feel, where you're here and you're on We Have Cool Friends, and usually We Have Cool Friends is a vehicle to introduce people to people, but everybody knows you. You've been on everything forever with us. That's
true. I think I've hosted one of every show that Kind of Funny has ever done, except I've never done the Kind of Funny podcast, but you guys wanted to keep that.
Yeah, that's cool.
The original crew. I've never technically hosted KFAF.
Okay, but you come in and yell at them a lot.
I've done like a little like pop-in cameo here and there.
Makes you feel better. I haven't hosted it either, so just saying. We've gotten to the point now where
is it even a real show though?
You know, that's a great question. I just watched a 20-minute video of them driving around talking about a cat and nuggets, so I don't know what is or isn't anymore.
Exactly. So,
Andrea, here's where we'll start then with you, since people should know you, and I assume they know you, and if not, there is a Game Over Greggy show where you came through and walked through your entire career. Let's jump to the current. You are moving to LA on Saturday.
That is correct.
How are you feeling right now?
I'm pretty anxious about the whole thing. I mean, it's a mixture of excitement and sadness and anxiety and stress and nerves. Like, I mean, whenever you move, even if you're just moving across town, there's just so many moving parts to moving your life. And I think the catharsis that comes with going through all of your belongings and looking at things that maybe you haven't taken out of a closet in a really long time, like whether it's photos or old work or anything like that, you kind of have this moment of reflection about where you've been and what you've done, and of course, where you're going next. And I think that to me is kind of the scary part of like what is going to happen when I move to LA and we start the new studio. Like, where's What's Good going to go? Where is my career going to go? And it's an exciting but also scary time. Yeah.
So talk to me more about that, because that's the thing. Obviously, when I met you, you were in LA already. You were already doing the game stuff down there, and I remember how much you loved LA and would talk shit on San Francisco, and then you fell in love with John Drake, and he came to work for PlayStation. You came up and we were all super excited, and you never really stopped talking shit about San Francisco, as we all do.
It's true.
As we all do. There's problems. We love it, but you love it, you hate it. It's the city you're a part of.
But I did love being close to wine country.
Come on, I know you did.
I mean, I was in Napa like every other month.
How are you going to do that? Yeah, that's the thing. That was always like your thing.
Sad.
Yeah.
I was hoping to get one last trip in before we took off, and it just with timing, with all the events and trade shows happening in August, it wasn't possible. But it's just a short plane ride and then another short car ride away. So it's not too far, but they're just going to ship me my membership down to
That's easy.
Down to
yeah,
LA.
okay.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some vine or vineyard out there somewhere to go.
Oh yeah, I mean Santa Barbara's not far, Temecula isn't far, Paso Robles if you want to. Yeah.
So the question is though, you came here and I know you always wanted to get back to LA. You always joked about it, you always talked about it, but now that it's actually happening, what does happen next? What does happen for What's Good? What are your career ambitions to go back down there?
Well, I've been talking about moving into lifestyle hosting for the last year or two, I always knew that there would be a time where I was going to age out of being on camera for video games. The time's not yet.
So to stop already though.
Yeah.
Lifestyle hosting would be HGTV, entertainment tonight, that kind of anything
travel,
but games.
Food, beverage, like entertainment, pretty much anything that doesn't fall specifically in video games.
Okay.
I mean, even entertainment TV and movies is not considered lifestyle hosting. That's considered entertainment news,
hosting,
right? And so for me, when I first started hosting, I originally wanted to go into entertainment news, and then I got a little taste of it early in my career and really enjoyed it, but also saw just how cutthroat it is and how competitive it is, and also how repetitive it is. You're really doing the same things really cyclically, and it's crazy when you think about, you know, the junkets circuit for people who aren't familiar. A TV junket or a movie junket is where actors for a big feature film, let's say like The Rock is out doing interviews for Hobbs and Shaw.
I was going to say, every time you see The Rock with just a poster behind him in a dark room.
That's a junket.
Yeah.
It's where they sequester the talent in a single room, and then they, you know, like conveyor belt reporters in and out of that room.
Yeah.
So that way they get to keep the talent in a single spot, and then each reporter comes in, you get like 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 30 minutes if you're like E.T. or Access Hollywood, one of the big guys. And then you have X amount of questions to ask the talent, and then that's it. Those are your sound bites for the EPK or the electronic press kit that you're going to put together. You know what EPKs are.
I do not know what
What?
EPK
You never?
is.
Did you ever work in broadcast?
No. I fell into all this ass backwards. No, I was print journalism, magazine.
Yeah, I started in print in college. Well, really started in print in middle school, quite frankly.
Oh, yeah.
I actually found some of my old school newspapers when I was back home in Fargo this last weekend. And then I transitioned to broadcast in college because I knew that I wanted to do something on camera because I loved being on stage, did a lot of theater growing up. And so I was like, you know, print just didn't really feel like the right thing for me. I also have ADHD, and so having to sit down and write like 1,000 words or something like that's even longer than that was really challenging for me in school. And so I knew I wanted to go into short form broadcast packages.
Gotcha.
And so I got an internship with the CBS entertainment reporter with the Minneapolis affiliate.
Nice.
And
Twin Cities, Andrea Rene reporting.
Exactly.
Vikings fans are pissed because...
And so that's when I knew I really loved entertainment. But in LA, I transitioned out of that into more like traditional hosting because I discovered that it wasn't fulfilling for me to do full time. I loved doing it part of the time, but there's no part-time entertainment host. It's like you're either in it or you're not in it, at least back then. Obviously, it's a lot different now with the rise of YouTube and digital formats. Because when I was first starting out, YouTube was just beginning, like in 2006. And so the whole idea of digital was still like TV people looked down on it, and quite frankly, TV people still look down on it, but now they can't ignore it because it's too big to ignore. And so I started out my career really hosting. I did a weird online dating show. I did a food show in LA where we went around to restaurants and talked to restaurateurs. I would love to get into something like that again. I did.
So where does that begin, though? So you're talking about wanting to get into lifestyle stuff. You've been on, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've been out of the game on that front for a while.
Correct.
So are you going to do you have an agent? Do you have a manager? These are all these are questions I should know about you, but I don't.
You know, it's totally okay. So I don't have representation at the moment because I dropped my representation back in 2010 when I got my first full-time producing job.
Okay.
So I've always...
Was that Escapist or Game Trail?
No, that was thisweekend.com. Even pre then, even farther back than that, because I didn't want to give part of my salary to my agent, but also I wasn't going to have the flexibility to go on auditions, to take time off, to go on one-off gigs, to host a day here, 2 days here, what have you, because I was now in a salaried position. And so I was like, maybe it's time for me to step away. And that's when I really went full-time into doing behind-the-scenes camera work, producing, writing, creative development, content management, all those kinds of things that make up a large part of my experience in digital media. And since then, I've always wanted to get back into having representation so I could explore some of these other options. I just haven't done it because I've just been one project after another. And I'm very fortunate that a lot of people will contact me directly to work with me on projects instead of having to go through an agent. And as somebody who's worked with agents on the other side, when I was the producer having to negotiate with an agent, I understand why people like that I don't have an agent.
Oh, sure. Yeah, totally.
It's not necessarily the best for me.
Yeah, it was awkward. I mean, you've been on those calls. I've been on those calls where somebody wants to work with you and they're like, do you have an agent? No. Okay. And then they'll start tiptoeing around how much it costs to work with you. And then there's that silence. I'm always just like, So what's your budget?
Yeah,
like, what do you have?
Exactly.
What do you want to do? How do you want to make this happen and work?
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely that layer that I would like removed, going forward in my career. I don't mind doing it. I think I've gotten much better at it as I've gotten older. And I've had some experiences with agents, go terribly wrong where the negotiations just fell apart, and it wouldn't have been how I would have personally handled it. Sure. But
does that stick with you then?
I mean, yeah, of course, it makes me super gun shy about working with someone, right?
That's always my thing with it, where it's like, it goes back to how I always talk about at Mizzou, when they taught us how to do resumes, right? And after getting ready to graduate or whatever, sending out that resume all the time, and when that resume would fail, I'd be like, well, fuck, it's not how I would have done it. And it took me so long to finally be like, you know what, I'm going to do it my way. That way, if I don't get it, if it doesn't, I failed being me at least, and I don't sit there and go, that's not how I would have done it. Well, I think this is dumb.
Exactly. You can only point to the way that you've represented yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, there was a time when one of my agents early in my career was sending around a headshot of me with long hair. It's a little bit shorter than here. It was one of my first headshots. But in 2009, I had decided I want a different look, and I chopped my hair into a bob.
Okay.
And I took brand new headshots, and I gave them to my agent, and I was like, I'm super excited about this. And I asked my agent first, because always talk to your management before you do anything drastic with your look, because it matters to a lot of people. And so I was like, what do you think? Is it good? And he was like, yeah, I love it, blah, blah, blah. Unbeknownst to me, was sending out my old headshots.
So you're like showing up for gigs and people are like, what the fuck?
Exactly. And then it took until one of the casting agencies that I worked with allowed us to watch our audition footage afterwards, which is invaluable to being able to watch your performance back. And I watched, and not only was I not happy with my performance, but my look. I was like, is that what I look like on camera? I don't know why it took so long for it to click. And that's when I started wearing extensions, and I changed my hair back, and then boom, 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 started booking again. Who knew, guys? No one wants to book a girl with short hair on camera.
The first tip.
It's a trope. It's a thing, though. It's better today than it was then.
Okay, I was going to say, yeah, because
that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people are, more accepting of different kinds of styles and looks today. But I mean, there's still, in Hollywood, there's still very clearly like a definition of what a feminine personality on camera is supposed to look like. Are you worried
about having to do that? You've been here in games where you can show up in your pajamas and drink wine with us all day, and we make a show and you have a business. Now you're going there and you're trying to enter back into a world that still is, to some extent, and I'm an outsider for sure.
Yeah.
To some extent, like, how do you look and what's your character and that kind of thing.
I mean, I'm definitely, nervous about it. I think anytime you go in to work with a client or a casting director or anybody that you've never worked with before, whether you work in entertainment or you work in car sales, I think there's that level of anxiety that we all feel about, like, how is this relationship going to go? Is it going to be a good fit? Are they going to like me? Are they going to see me for my talent? But like, I came to the understanding a long time ago that a huge part of Hollywood casting is on if you just had that thing that they're looking for. That thing is indefinable. Only the casting director or the executive producer, whoever's making the decision, knows what they want, and there's nothing you can do to be that thing. You're either it or you're not it. And it took me a really long time to come to terms with that, because hearing no and getting passed over for jobs is hard. It's brutal. It's tough. Even today, I look at some jobs that I went up against people for that they got and I didn't. And I go, where would I be in my career if they had gone with me instead of with her, or if they had picked me for that role?
It, right? Where would you be if you were Pennywise? I don't know.
Right? Oh my gosh, I would be terrifying children all over America. Hopefully,
totally working with Bill Hader.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I mean, those thoughts never leave your mind. I think as creatives, we all have an underlying insecurity,
of course,
despite the fact that we put a bravado on camera. But
sure. Do you? I think I've talked about this. I think I've been on camera with you, but one of the things for me always, right, and I talked about it a bit on Games Daily in the letter, right, was the fact that I saw you doing such great work, right, but I saw you not having an audience, right? Like, I feel like you jumped around from so many different places, doing so much different work and making great content, but the problem is that I know how hard it is to get people to click. They follow you on Twitter, but are they going to click that link to watch the video? Let alone I'm watching Escapist, I'm watching game trailers, and I see you pop up, and it's, well, that's great, but are they going to then go look up Andrea Rene, right? And I think that's what's good was so good for you to have a place to call home and a place to send people and a brand to build like that. Was that when you think back of like, man, what would have happened if I did this or got that role or did that? Is that something you think about? What would it be if you had started earlier with What's Good or started your own brand, your own place
all the
earlier?
time?
Yeah,
all the time. I remember even talking to you and Tim about it when after I guested on Kind of Funny the first time while you guys were all still at IGN.
Yeah,
Thinking about like what would I do if I wanted to start my own thing? Because when I first moved to San Francisco is when I was transitioned from a full-time salaried employee at Defy Media, working with Smosh Games, Game Trailers, and Clever, to working as a remote contractor. I was full-time for a little while as a contractor, but then like I saw the writing on the wall that Defy was slowly carving their gaming content out of their slate. And obviously like they shut down Game Trailers, they shut down The Escapist, and thankfully Smosh Games was still going until Defy went defunct. But that was a huge moment, a huge pivot in my career. I think it was 2015 was the year of me being like, what do I do now?
Yeah.
Because I had been embedded in a full-time position since 2010 to when I moved up here to San Francisco, so the end of 2014. So I was like, okay, now I have to just work for myself again like I did before I got my first full-time job. And it was hard. Like it was a really depressing time for me, thinking like no one wants to work with me and like there aren't any jobs available, because I interviewed with a bunch of companies up here in the Bay, but because I was a senior producer, getting those senior level roles
you wanted money.
Yeah, and not only that, but like it's difficult to find higher roles that demand more experience. Junior roles are available all the time, right?
100%. I mean, that's why, and I'm talking specifically about my IGN time, right? It was always the problem is that and this is at the time of me being at IGN. I cannot speak to current IGN. We'd bring in college kids that are like myself that are like, I'm so excited to be here, blah, blah, blah. And I'm lucky that I was able to pivot and the company work with me to find me different roles and move me up and move me around the ladder. But there's so many other people come in and like literally are there 9 months a year and like, oh, there's nowhere for me to go. Like these three bosses above me aren't leaving.
Right.
So like there's already a ceiling on what I can make. And that's why it's different now. But in the old days, you saw so many of your personalities jump to PR, right? So many jumped to making games. It's because, well, it's like what Luke said on his We Have Cool Friends, right? Of just like, I was living in the Tenderloin, barely making it, and there was no future. So I had to get out and I had to go do something else.
I can't live like this. Yeah, that's what he said. And like, that's true. And particularly in media, not just in entertainment, but in media specifically, like news writing or package producing or editing, there's so much competition and the wages are criminally low because so many people want to do it, you know, and it's really tough to stick it out. And like whenever you and I have ever talked at panels or taken questions and people ask like, how do I do what you do? Or like, never give up. Like you have to be passionate about it because it's going to be really hard for a really long time. And then it'll get good for a little bit and then it's going to be really hard again. And so you either have to be in it for the long haul, knowing like, this is what I want. This is what I want for my life. I wake up every morning going, I have to do this or I'm going to be unhappy. Yeah. Or you say, hey, I tried it and I did it and that was cool. And then you move on to something else that makes you happy. Yeah.
And I think that's just such a tough conversation to have, right? Like, 'cause I know how many of our best friends, right, will come up to us at events, and we've been seeing the same kids for me 12 years, right, and see them. I want to do what you do, and how do I make a podcast, be consistent, do this stuff, and then like years later you run into them, they're not doing that anymore, right? And it's not because they're failures or quitters; it's because they got in there and like, oh, this is my passion. Like this is a ton of work. This is long nights. It's 3 a.m. and why is there no audio? I'm exporting this and why isn't the audio fucking working? Why is this one screen red? It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I have so much respect for everything that you guys have built here. I was actually just thinking about it over the last couple of days because doing a lot of reflecting on my time at Kind of Funny, obviously.
So Andrea's with her wine, walking around the house.
Pretty much. And just like the announcement of the new show that you guys are doing with 2K and how proud and excited I am for you guys. And I was like, but they have put all the work in to get to this moment. The fact that you guys have all these awesome shows, you have this great community on Twitch and on YouTube and Reddit and Patreon. It's because you guys put the work in. And I think sometimes the community who just sees the content doesn't understand exactly what that means. It's like, whether it's like Barrett coming in on a Saturday to wear a Batman costume, or Tim coming in at 6 a.m. to watch the Pokemon live stream. It's like those little moments add up to what makes you successful. And it's like when you cut corners continually is when you kind of stagnate. and it's something that we at What's Good think about all the time. We're like, where do we want, What's Good to go?
Yeah.
Like, what is the future for it?
And
Like,
that's a big question I have for you on this show. So you better start thinking of an answer.
I know. I don't even know if I have an appropriate answer. It's like, we've talked about it, of course. And, I've chatted with Britt about like what's her future and what she wants and what her passions are and, like where Steimer wants to go. And, I think we all have individual futures that are probably going to veer apart at some point.
Sure.
I hope that's not soon, because we are, I feel like are really kind of just about to start cooking with gas now, like being able to have the opportunity to collaborate with
Two
creators
of you in one
LA.
city will be so helpful.
Exactly. And like, Brittany can fly down to LA.
Sure.
It'll be great.
Is she on her 3rd cruise in the month? Nobody knows. I follow you. I see what you're doing on social
she
media.
is living the dream right now. I'm so happy for her to be able to do the things that she's doing. And because she and Jason have worked really hard for everything that they have as well, and it helps that they live in the middle of nowhere and have lower cost of living than you and I do here in San Francisco. But, thinking about what, can we do together? What are her passions? What are Steimer's passions? What does she want to do? And, how can we translate that into something for What's Good? But also like, what does Andrea Rene want to do?
And that's the thing, right? Like, I feel that you're in such an interesting, unique spot, right? At least compared, because I do feel like we're two sides of the same coin. One, a side that has it together, and the other, a troglodyte troll side. But you know what I mean? In terms of like what we do and who we are, right? And having businesses where it's like, I've talked about it on camera and on mics before, but like, everything I do is for Kind of Funny, right? When I go host something, the money I'm making for whatever gig is coming back into Kind of Funny, and I don't see that, outside of salary and then like ownership dividends and stuff like that at the end of the year. It's to make sure that we can pay for a new person, move to a new studio one day, do all these different things. And so, for you, it's got to be interesting because I know you walk that line where sometimes it is a What's Good event and sometimes it is an Andrea event. Yeah. Is that a struggle? Was it hard to find that balance?
Yeah, it is. And it's an ongoing balance thing for me of figuring out, how much time am I devoting to What's Good and building What's Good games, and how much am I devoting to building, my personal production company and the opportunities that I want to pursue that will carry me into the next 20, 30 years of my career.
What are you thinking for?
Listen, if I'm going to get to Hoda on the Today Show, I have some work to put in still, Greg.
Fair.
That's all I ever want is to talk about, I say this is my stock line. I want 5 ways to wear leopard while drinking white wine at the 10 a.m. hour on the Today Show. Is it so much to ask?
Nice.
I know lots of hosts have that same dream of working in daytime TV, but it's one of those things like I know that someday if I want that, I have to be in New York. So it's like, well, how do I transition from being in LA to New York? But then I stop myself and go, but wait, is there even going to be a Today Show as we know it 10 years from today?
Great point.
Look at where it's gone in the last 2 years, let alone the last decade.
Yeah.
Daytime TV is changing. The generation that sustains the advertisers of daytime is aging, and they're going to age out of that content and age into something else. And soon you and I eventually will be in our 40s and 50s, taking that mantle up. And it's like, what does our generation want from that kind of show? And that's where like my producer brain kicks in, and it's like, okay, maybe you need to rethink where your dream job is. Maybe you need to rethink what your path is. And I think that's important for anybody out there contemplating a career and a dream in any kind of field that is based on technology because of how fast it's shifting, of going like, is my dream what I thought? Because when I was growing up, I thought I wanted to be Mary Hart. I was like, I watched E.T. every night with my mom. Loved it. I wanted it so bad.
I watched it all the time too.
But then I got to LA and I worked with some of the big entertainment brands, and I quickly saw like this isn't what I thought it was. This isn't what I want anymore. Like I want something different.
Sure.
Something related but different. And I'm still figuring that out.
Okay. No pressure though.
No pressure at all.
And so what is the first step for you when you get to LA? Is it doubling down on What's Good, or is it cool, we're here and obviously doing What's Good, but I'm going to go out on auditions, I'm going to start doing this, I'm going to look for representation?
I'm going to try to do both. So my first priority is building the new studio, so I think that's going to be exciting.
What's the space look like? Because it's at your house again, right?
So it's a raw space. We're converting the garage in our house into a studio. We've been parking on the street here for 5 years. I was like, I don't need to park in a garage in Southern California. I'll be fine. And so we have a nice driveway we can park in. So we're going to convert the garage. We looked for places with studio units, and we found
Sure.
one, and we got outbid on it. So I was sad, tear. But it worked out for the best because the house we have now is way better.
Nice.
Needed way less renovations. So I'm excited to kind of start from scratch with that and be able to kind of build something new and maybe change up the look. Because I really had just converted my GT News and my G&D Weekly set into the What's Good set because it's what I had.
Yeah, that was already established, right? That was already there.
Yeah, and so I added some set pieces and we changed camera angles and stuff. But really, like, fundamentally, if you go back and look at GT News, which I don't even know if you can still...
Can you still look at it? Is that something that got wiped?
Find it.
Got blinked?
You might be able to find some episodes since Defy wiped most of it. And if you look at that to what I have with What's Good, it's very similar. G&D Weekly is even more similar because it was in the same space. And so that's like my first priority. And then, working with Brittany on coming up with like a content plan of like, when do we want to shoot? What kinds of extra stuff do we want to look at doing? I have some idea for some fun one-off content to do with creators in LA. But then I've been talking about What's Good Wine forever.
You sure have.
And
yes.
I think What's Good Wine is going to be my transition into lifestyle content.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
So pitch it if somebody doesn't know What's Good Wine.
Yeah. So I've got two concepts. I'm going to keep my What's Good Games drinking show under wraps for now.
Okay.
But I have a concept in the works that I
I like that you have multiple drinking shows.
Two drinking shows. Well, I pitched it to Luke and he said he would be on it. So
of course.
So that's something that is probably closer and ready.
Okay.
Closer to being ready. I just need to put together the budgets for it.
Sure.
Shoot a pilot and whatnot. What's Good Wine as a concept for me is a millennial focused wine show teaching, 40 somethings and under, like how to talk about wine, how to order wine, how to drink wine, different kinds of wine, maybe teaching you something that you thought you know about wine that
Turns out you didn't.
Yeah, that you didn't realize. And really just like helping people discover and love wine the way that I love wine.
Yeah.
As somebody who bartended professionally for a very long time and worked in the service industry in restaurants in literally every capacity you could be except for being on the cooking line.
Yeah.
I have like kind of a unique perspective to how service works and how bartending works. And I've been wanting to bring that to a show forever, and I feel like now is the time. And having the LED wine wall built into the house was just like, listen, this is a perfect backdrop. It's going to be great.
How many bottles can you hold in it?
I haven't counted, actually.
Okay, but a lot, I'm assuming?
I think it's at least 20.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
BJ Bernardo is breaking out of the friend zone early. He wrote into patreon.com/kindafunny. It says, hi, y'all. Andrea, what's a good wine for someone who just doesn't drink a lot of it? Thanks, BJ. We got a novice here looking to figure out what he could have.
I think Pinot Noir is a really nice intro wine. It's really easy to drink. It's relatively affordable compared to a lot of the other reds. It's super smooth, and it goes with a whole wide variety of foods. Pinot Noirs, you can get a really nice Pinot Noir for like $6.
Okay.
And you can get a really expensive one for like $70. But what's great about Pinot Noir is that you don't get into these really difficult vintages and regions. Like good Pinot Noir usually only comes from a couple parts of the world. So I think that's a good one to start with for reds.
Okay.
For whites, I would say Pinot Grigio, just because I fucking hate Chardonnay so much.
Why does everybody hate Chardonnay? Why is that a thing? Kevin, you know about this?
It's the
all the kind of honeys hate Chardonnay.
It's the buttery taste I can't do. It's the oaky flavor. Even if it's in stainless steel, I can hear you guys out there already. But Andrea, have you thought about the stainless steel fermentation? I was like,
man, you definitely heard him exactly what everybody was saying.
Exactly. And I have tried some shards that aren't bad, but 9 times out of 10, really, let's be honest, 999 times out of 1,000, I will not accept a Chardonnay.
Okay.
Even at an open bar where it's free. No, thank you.
Damn.
I just do not care for it.
Sure.
I will try it if somebody opens it. I will be a hospitable guest, and I'm always exploring new flavors, even things that I've tried before that I don't like. I'm the kind of person that will go back and try it again.
But you'll have that Andrea face if you do.
Oh, well, I don't know. I can have a good poker face. It depends who I'm with. If I'm with a friend, I'm not going to hold back. I'm at a stranger's house. I can fake it till I make it, Greg.
That's fair.
So Pinot Grigio is a little bit easier.
Story I don't know about you is, when did you realize you were nuts about wine? Like when? Because it's like everybody likes wine, fine, but like you know so much about wine and you're so into wine. Like it's one of your passions, one of your hobbies.
Yeah, I don't know if I can pinpoint an exact time, but I started drinking wine a lot when I went on a gluten-free diet. So it was either 2011 or 2012, we found out that my sister got diagnosed with celiac disease, which is an autoimmune disorder. A lot of people get celiac confused with either a gluten intolerance or a gluten allergy, and it's a fact like this really crazy autoimmune disorder where her body will attack it like it's a foreign cell, and she gets these really terrible reactions like all over hives and like food poisoning like symptoms. Wow. It's really bad if you've known anybody with celiac. And so watching her go through that diagnosis process was super hard, and like that transition of like having to do this complete overhaul in her life of being like, you just can't ever eat that thing again unless you want to be violently ill. Yeah. Like there's no cheating. It's not like they say, oh, hey, well, we make our fries in the same fryer where we make our breaded chicken tenders. Oh, I'll be fine. It's just a little intolerance. No, none of that for her. Like she can't even have any kind of cross contamination. Wow. She had to replace all of her kitchen utensils, everything.
Wow.
And so in solidarity, I was like, okay, I'm going to try to be on this diet with you to see what I can do. And it involved me reading a fuck ton of labels because turns out even if it says gluten-free, it was probably made in a facility that also processes wheat. Can't have it.
Jesus.
And so it was a learning experience. I did it for 10 weeks. And it was really, really tough traveling in particular, being in airports. It's much better now than it was even 5 years ago.
Yeah.
She was diagnosed even earlier than that, but it's like trying to describe it to people and getting them to understand like how sick you get is tough. And so I went through that whole process, and during that process, I had to stop drinking beer. And I used to be a huge beer drinker, so like no beer at all. And then a lot of the liquors also have gluten in them, even though some through distillation processes, the gluten proteins are broken down, they're safe to drink. But there's still a whole range of cocktails and things like that you just can't have.
Yeah. And
so that's when I really transitioned to wine.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, well, I can drink wine. That's fine. That's made from grapes. I'm good to go. I'm good to go. And so that was like 2013 is when I went on that diet. And since then, like after I was like 10 weeks without beer, I just stopped craving it.
Wow.
Like every once in a while, I'll want like a single glass of a nice IPA.
Yeah.
But I don't ever like pop open a Coors Light like I used to. I used to be able to like kick those back like nobody's business. I mean, I'm from North Dakota. We're drinkers.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was really the mark for me of transitioning into being like a wine like enthusiast.
Yeah.
Someday I hope to be able to call myself a connoisseur, but I need to do a lot more educating.
See, even there, I already appreciate that you're like, I won't do that. That comes with too much.
No, well, because there's going to absolutely be people out there that know way more than I do. And that's why I love going on these wine tours all the time.
Sure.
Is because I get to hear from winemakers and from vintners and people who work in the wine industry and get educated about it. Things that I thought I knew, but I clearly didn't know. I was like, I've been serving wine in bars for years. I know the difference between a vintage champagne and a non-vintage. Nope, didn't know. But now I do. And so it's like things like that I find really fascinating to learn. And I told John one of the things that I'm excited to do for the show is to take viticulture classes. I actually, before we left the Bay, I contemplated doing part-time classes at UC Davis because they're known for their viticulture program because they're right next to wine country. Yeah. And I just didn't get around to it. It's a haul to drive up there.
You're the busiest lady in the business. You have plenty of other things to do.
Exactly. But it's on my to-do list, and I'm excited to learn more and then share that knowledge with all of you.
Excellent. Now, will you put that on What's Good Games channel? Or are you going to make a What's Good Wine channel?
So I'm going to make a whole new channel, a whole new website. And now that I have the learnings of doing it from scratch, from What's Good.
You know all the things not to do, which is the most important, I think, when doing this, it seems.
Yeah, and I think that's every novice content creator's downfall is that they try to do it all. They try to do like a variety show. And I've had countless people write into me to be like, hey, can you help me with this thing that I'm trying to start, this YouTube channel or this podcast or this? And I'm sure you get those emails all the time. And the one piece of advice I always try to impart on people is focus your content. Because if you try to talk about movies, entertainment, or movies, TV, and games, you're never going to do one of those well. You're going to do everything just okay. And so it's good to kind of focus lens it, because that way people can be like, I'm here for this content.
100%.
And that's what I'm really hoping to do with this wine show. And so I'm obviously going to talk about it on What's Good Games.
Oh, sure.
But no, it won't go through any of the What's Good channels.
Gotcha. All right. Just make sure I know where to look for it.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll post the links out.
Don't worry. I'm sure you'll be hitting me up for, hey, talk about this on Games Daily. Got it, Andrea. I'm on it. Don't worry about it. So Well, another interesting wrinkle I think all the time with you is that you're married to John Drake. Everyone knows John Drake, of
Yes.
course. He doesn't drink.
He does not drink.
You love wine. You love drinking.
Yes.
And not in like a weird way, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, was there a period when you guys were dating of you, like where you had to get over that? Was that ever weird? Because like for me, it's that weird thing of like, you know, like Jen does it all the time. I'm gonna have a glass of wine. Do you want one? No, I'm good. Oh, I'm not gonna do it then. Well, I'm like, no, go. You know, I'm just not in the mood or something like that.
Yeah. I mean, that's me all the time.
Well,
Because John never drinks. I mean, that's why getting gifted the Corvin was like the best gift ever. Thank you, Carter. I use it all the time.
The Corvin?
The Corvin. So it's a needle piercing system that pierces the cork and
Okay.
it puts argon gas in to displace the wine. So it preserves the oxygen that's inside the bottle so it doesn't age the wine. So you don't technically have to uncork it. You can have just a single glass without opening the bottle.
Oh.
Yeah.
You need to send me this.
Okay,
Because
I
Jen
will.
will occasionally, I'll just have one, and then guess what?
It's open.
I'm drinking one just to make sure she doesn't drink the entire
Gotta
bottle.
finish it. Yeah, it's stupidly expensive,
Okay.
but if you think about how much wine you would be wasting, also
Which is a problem. Yeah.
right? Or you just drink it, but you can't always do that. Sometimes
Yeah.
because I have some really nice bottles of red that I don't want to save until I have people over to drink,
Yeah.
and I just like want like a single glass, and so it's really good for that. But wait, what were we talking about before this?
Question was it ever weird, or did you go through
yes.
a period where you're like, fuck it, I'm just gonna drink. I'm getting wasted.
Well, our first unofficial date, we went to the Well in Hollywood. This is a really dark bar, and I remember sitting there. We just sat and talked for like 4 hours, and he just Diet Coke, Diet Coke, Diet
Yeah.
Coke, and I was drinking whiskeys the whole time. And I think
You're like whiskey.
I was just drinking whiskey on the rocks because that's when I was I had just started. I was like a month and a half into my diet.
Yeah.
And
Wait, what you said?
the diet I talked to you about.
Thank you. Okay,
where I
cool.
couldn't have the gluten, and so I couldn't drink cocktails or beers, and so I was
Sure.
just drinking
Whiskey
or
on the rocks?
tequila rocks is one of my faves too. Also, the lowest amount of alcohol sugars, in case you were wondering.
Oh, wow, okay.
So if you're on a diet, tequila. Not margaritas though, too much sugar. So anyway, back to the story. And at the end of the night, you know, he drove me home, and I realized
Thanks.
I was like, oh, I wonder if I'm being sloppy right now. But like normally, if the other guy was partially drunk too, you wouldn't notice.
It would be fine. Even playing field.
It wasn't until I think we had our first fight when I was really drunk that I was like, oh no, did he change his mind? Is he going to hate me now? Is he going to dump me? Is it going to be over? Has he decided he can't deal? And he's still here. We're married now. Our anniversary is in 2 weeks, which is exciting.
Hey, congratulations.
Hey, thanks. But yeah, I mean, I think like any couple, whenever you have any kind of mind-altering substance involved in your relationship,
Yeah.
you know, like you have to treat it very carefully.
Oh,
you know,
sure. Yeah.
and make sure that you have open lines of communication, and particularly if you're going to be traveling, you know, like, hey, I'm going to drink tonight. Maybe you take the night off, and then we'll switch next time, or we'll take a car together, or whatever.
Yeah.
And thankfully, I've never had to have that, but I have had to, you know, talk about like, are we at a function with family? How much am I drinking with family? And because his family doesn't drink a lot, and my family drinks a lot.
Yeah,
like
North
a
Dakota
shit ton.
represent.
And so like figuring that out and like the family politics of it all was
Sure.
something that I had to kind of learn early on. But the thing that's great about John Drake, and there are many things. We won't make this all about how much I love John
I like
Drake.
his fashion
but
sense.
Yes, he's got great fashion sense. Sneaker game on point. Is that he's always there for the fun, and he's always there to talk to people, and is super gregarious and outgoing. And if we're out until 2 a.m., 3 a.m., he's there until the end of the night, hanging with everybody, having a great time, because he doesn't make it about the drinking.
Yeah.
And that's his personal choice. I'm not here to tell people how to live their lives when it comes to substance and their choices around substances. But the thing that makes us work is that I love to be around people, and I love to have drinks and be a social drinker around people.
Yeah.
And if he wasn't down with that, we wouldn't be here together today.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's the one thing I've noticed in terms of you and how Jen is as well. When we're at an event, whether it be a dinner or a party or something, you both love to take care of other people. you're almost Jen's always filling glasses, right? You're the same way of making sure people. You love getting a waiter. You love getting the waiter's attention.
Oh my gosh, the experience of dining with Andrea Rene.
It is something, ladies and gentlemen. Let me tell you.
There are times when I'm like, oh no, I've gone too far. I've
crossed
gone
the line.
too far.
I just appreciate when we'll go. It's Olive Garden Tuesday. 12:15 and you have a million questions about the wine list. You can see this kid being like, I don't know what the fuck's happening.
There are times when I can read the room and I'm good about it. I'm like, listen, we're at Denny's. Like, you can't ask for like a million side items of blah, 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 and ask them to change the things. But I just am of the philosophy that if I'm going to pay a premium to have somebody serve me dinner and have somebody cook it and bring it to me, and I'm paying, and in San Francisco, you're paying an extra premium because you're paying the employee mandate on top of the gratuity and on top of the crazy expensive San Francisco tax.
See how it's starting to ratchet up. You can see everybody where this conversation with the restaurant's going.
It's just that, I expect a certain level of service, and the most important thing that I always tell people when they're dining with me is like, I strive to always be as respectful as possible about my requests, but I'm going to make the requests. If a steak I've ordered comes out and it's the wrong temperature and it's a $35 steak, I'm sending that bitch back.
Yeah.
It's like I paid a premium. You asked me how I wanted it cooked. You cooked it to the wrong temperature. Could you please have them cook it longer, or would you please have them remake it?
Yeah.
The key is to be polite and respectful about it. The moment that you turn into an asshole, I have no patience for
totally.
people who are rude to wait staff, because
I've never seen you do that. I've never ever seen you do that.
And I would never. Yeah. I would in lieu of me being rude to wait staff, I would just go directly to management.
Sure.
Because it's not going to serve anybody.
The Nick Scarpino method.
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to serve anybody being mean or rude to somebody, but that's also just like good life philosophy. Like,
yeah.
You're not going to get what you want by being mean or rude to somebody. If you want to see change, even if it's like, hey, I asked for ketchup instead of mayo, like something small.
Yeah.
If you do it with a smile, this idea of kill them with kindness, like it works in all kinds of walks of life.
It's the same thing. I see it all the time where people get mad at the waiter or waitress, right? But like, it's that moment of like taking yourself out and looking around and like, how many tables are they working right now? What is going on? How many giant, I don't mind. I come back. I forgot about the thing. It's totally fine to see it. It's when they're just like, me and Jen went to brunch before we came back from Dallas.
Yeah.
And the guy sat us and it was great. And then he was like, do you not guys know? We're like, oh, we just got here. No. And then he walked off and literally stood behind a pillar, like talking to the hostess, where he couldn't have eye contact with us anymore. And then it was like 20 minutes later before he was like, oh, fuck right. And he came over. I'm like, I don't have as much sympathy for you there. I understand forgetting and we were fine.
That's bad service right? But I was trained in service industry. It was really one of my managers that I worked at. I worked at a nightclub on Sunset Boulevard called Boulevard 3.
Okay.
They actually just closed down, I think, this year. But they lasted a long time because like the average lifespan of a club in LA is like 18 months or something really short. And he made sure that he wanted to impart a sense of service first and saying, listen, if you're not here for service first, if you're not here to make sure that everybody who walks through that door has an amazing night and leaves with a smile on their face thinking, I can't wait to come back, then this isn't the job for you. If you're just here to make your rent and go on your auditions and not show up for your shifts, there's plenty of other restaurant jobs for you. I don't want you as part of my staff. And so he made it like super clear right away. He set the expectation, like there are to be no fuckboys on my staff.
Yeah.
You're here to work.
Dave Lang was your manager.
Exactly. You're here to make money because in a high-end nightclub, you can make tons of money because you have to work really fast because you're selling a lot of volume in a short amount of time. Yeah. And I really respected that because I've always had a really strong work ethic and I have a lot of pride in my work. Whether it's me mopping the floor, some of the fast food jobs that I had early in my career, or whether it's me creating graphics for a new show that I'm going to debut early 2020. Who could say? It's like, I think if you don't have pride in the product that you're working on, then what do you stand for? And I think it speaks a lot to who you are as a person.
That's well said. Well put. I want to talk about not exactly the 2020 show, but where you're going, because you said something a long time ago that I found interesting. It's been sticking in my head. I've been waiting to insert it somewhere. Here's what it is. You talked about not that it's happening yet, but you're aging out of gaming, right? In terms of what you think you can do. That's what you think you can do as a female host, or what you think is Andrea Rene, or what's that? I
think really just as a female host in general, but also as Andrea Rene. I think there's two sides of that. On one side, it's like there's just a part of being on camera that has a physicality attached to it, particularly for women.
100%.
And of course it's getting better, but it's not going to be fixed by the time I hit 60, let alone by the time I hit 40. You know, and so I think about what do I have to do to, you know, maintain a specific physical appearance. I mean, even in videos from a week ago, there's some jerk in the comments commenting on, oh, she's wearing too much makeup. She's not wearing enough makeup. Oh, she didn't do her hair today. Oh, she overdid her hair today. There's just no winning for women on camera sometimes.
Sure.
And I'm glad that, you know, we're able to have a better discourse about it. And there's more types of representation in mass market media about the different shapes and body styles and colors of women.
Yeah.
I think it's getting better. I think a company that we both work for, MeUndies, is great about that.
Yeah,
right?
no, their Instagram is all full of just normal people.
Exactly, about saying, hey, this is what people look like. You know, not everybody can be, you know, Giselle. And though we all, you know, kind of secretly want to. But the thing is, when it comes to being on camera and aging out, is that I think I need to be able to recognize when I'm no longer the target audience for what I'm talking about. And I think that's a hard thing for people on camera to do, to go, have I reached my maximum usage in this field?
Sure.
You know, am I still enjoying it every day? Am I still coming to work as excited and enthusiastic as I was, you know, when I got my first invite to my first Call of Duty event? You know, like, do I still have that same enthusiasm for it, or have my passion shifted? Would I rather, you know, work on this other content instead? And those are the tough conversations that I'm having with myself right now, of going, you know, like, where do my passions lie? What gets me out of bed every morning? What gets me excited? And part of that has to do with, like, maybe I've just been in the business long enough that I've done my time, but I'm not done yet, to be clear.
No, I know. I thought it was an interesting take, because when you said aging out of it, I didn't know if you meant there's a shelf life for female hosts in video gaming, but not in lifestyle stuff like that.
Actually, I'm too young to host a lot of lifestyle stuff.
Really?
If you think about all of
you're
the
28,
women,
I know.
I know, right? If you think about all the women that are hosting on, like, Food Network, Travel Channel, HGTV, they're all like 40s, 50s, 60s.
Okay.
Right? Because their target audience for advertisers is the same demo. A 50-year-old woman doesn't want to watch a 25-year-old woman hosting a show. Right? Because she's like, who is this young bitch trying to tell me what's what? She doesn't know shit. That's what they think, Kevin.
Kevin, this is like the sequel to the movie What Women Want. Now we understand what they're happening on the inside of their head. Damn it, this is the trilogy. This is the third part.
And so what's exciting to me about potentially aging out of one market is that I get to age into another one. I get to move on to the next thing and what's next for me, and think, hey, you know, I see some really amazing young talent coming up, you know, in this Twitch community, in the YouTube community. Even here, you guys featured Chloe. She was awesome. You know, so I see, like, the next generation of female gamers and on camera talent coming up and saying, hey, like, we're ready to take, like, the baton, and there'll be a day when I'm ready to pass it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But
so this is one of those places of privilege for me as white gamer male guy, right? Mm-hmm. How do you not get? How does it? Are you seething all the time at the double standard? At the double standard? Because it is that thing for real, and you know it, and everyone watching it knows it, right? Of, like, you're like, is your hair good? Your makeup good? This, blah, blah, blah. Me and Kevin roll in here for fucking party mode. Doritos falling out of our mouth, and it's just like, that's what it is. And everybody's like, nobody's like, man, Greg let himself go, right? No, they're like, oh, Greg's being Greg. Oh, he took his shirt off. Hilarious. I've seen him naked more than whoever, you know?
It's such a complicated issue, and it's something actually I talked to Naomi Kyle about recently.
I know.
Because she's great. She's been on What's Good. So I saw her when I was in LA last, and we were talking about, you know, social media and this pressure to always put, like, sexy photos up. And she made, like, a joke about, like, oh, of course, only the ones in my swimsuit get the most amount of likes and stuff. And I was like, that sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks that, you know, in order to develop an online following, which, as you know, is an integral part of selling yourself as a brand these days, if you don't have a social media presence, you know, it really truly affects how much you can get paid for specific jobs.
People want reach, right? They want those numbers. They want metrics.
Absolutely. Even if it's just on paper, even if that reach isn't authentic, because, you know, we've heard stories of these influencers who buy, like, tens of millions of followers on Instagram or YouTube or wherever. But, like, it matters to a lot of agencies and marketing companies, the people who are writing the checks.
Yep.
And so she and I were discussing like how frustrating it is, that, we can't just be ourselves in our social media a lot of the time, that, we have to put forward this almost false sense of like, oh, I'm always camera ready. And it's exhausting, quite frankly. And it's frustrating that in order to get attention, that's what you have to do. But then we're like, but is that the attention that we want? Not really, because those people aren't showing up to hear what we have to say.
They're coming to look at you.
They're coming to look at you. Yeah, they want to look at you as an object and not as a person. And we still have a long way to go before that attitude is overturned. And it's tough because I'm also of the mindset, I love this idea of like this Beyonce era of sexual empowerment, right? Sure. This idea like I'm a sexual being of my own agency. If I want to wear a bikini, it's because I look fucking fly in a bikini and I don't care who looks at it. And it's tough because we're not quite there where women can fully own that agency and not still have like the gaze, the male gaze as part of that wrapped up in it.
Sure.
And I don't know if that's ever going to go away, quite frankly. And it's tough because I have made the personal choice to err on the I'm just not going to do it. Like I'm just not going to post lewd photos of myself. I'm not ready to do it because I got questioned for my authenticity in full sweatshirts early in my career. And so I was like, if I even put one toe into that, like, hey, you know what? I'm feeling sexy today. I'm going to post a sexy selfie. Yeah. Then I know the scale's just going to tip all the way over there. And I was like, I don't want to bring that harassment on myself. I don't want to bring that criticism because it's already hard enough, Greg.
I know.
But that's just my personal choice. And I absolutely respect women who are confident enough and empowered enough and brave enough to say, I love my body. I'm going to show it off and do everything I can to make money off of it. I think about like Darshell and how successful she is and how beautiful she is. And I look at her photos and I'm like, God damn, I wish I looked that good. She must go to the gym every day. But like she built her business on her body and on her personality. And I'm so empowered by that.
Yeah, totally.
And I hope that more women can, empower each other. And instead of looking at each other with like, with, I don't want to use the word like coveting what they have, but like, it's like, it comes down to jealousy. I think a lot of the time too, of being like, I want the thing that I can't have, even if that thing is just confidence. Of saying like, I just want to wake up in the morning and like who I am today.
Yeah. No, I mean, I hear you, right? Because you bring up such a great point about the Instagram, right? Or whatever, and chasing that ghost that, of like, oh man, you want all these hearts, right? But if they're not coming from the right people, what do you want? You know what I mean? If it is somebody who's only going to like, I think about that all the time, right? Is that my Instagram is, friends and colleagues or whatever. And when I scroll through and I notice that like, I'm not saying I'm just liking bikinis, but I'm like Patrick Klepek, I'm clicking on his daughter. I'm like, oh, this is great here. And I'm doing it. And then it's like, wait, why did I just skip 3 food photos from Stone? I didn't heart that, but he's my friend, right? So do I heart everything? Like, and then I'm like, why is there this system in general of me voting as if I anybody should give a shit in their personal life what I think of any of the content they're putting out?
I would be so happy if social media just not existed anymore.
Well, they're taking away hearts, aren't they? Isn't that what's happening?
Public hearts.
Yeah.
You can still see the hearts on the back end. So you can still see people voting on your stuff.
It's going to be an interesting social experiment though, of when they go away. So what does it matter now what you're hearting, what you're not hearting? Like, you know what I mean? Like, will I heart more or will I heart less? It's like when Uber started when they stopped forcing me to rate people, I stopped rating people. And then I went back to exactly what I was talking about with my Yelp analogy for people being mad on the internet. Now I only rate people on Uber when they're fucking terrible and almost killed me.
Yeah, it's tough. I think on that Black Mirror episode that's so horrifying where everyone's rating each other all the time and how it like bleeds into all areas of your life. And I'm like, I really don't want us to become that way. It was interesting. I was listening to Bill Maher Real Time a couple weeks ago, and he went on one of his, because he does like a monologue at the end of every show, and he was talking about how there's this sense of anger in young people today because there's this sense of worthlessness, this sense of I'm not good enough, because we're constantly rating each other against ourselves of like, oh, who liked my photo today? Who's commenting on my post? Who's watching my video? How many people are engaging with my life?
Sure.
And we didn't have that. And I thank the stars that I got to grow up go through high school before that ever happened. Like it came about when I was in college, and I was just like, high school is hard enough as it is.
Yeah.
You know, this idea that I have to, I already am comparing myself to the popular girls in my class, that the fact that I have to like watch their Instagrams or do
what
this.
What fun they're doing, the party that they went to that looks like such a great time that you weren't invited
it's
to.
hard even with our friends, you know,
100%.
like I see events, you know, that our friends go to and I'm like, oh, I didn't get invited to that event.
Totally.
I
Oh,
didn't
it's
get
like this
invited to
cool
that
party.
event.
I didn't get invited to that.
Yeah,
And
it's
then,
like-
then you get in your head of it. It's like, well, me, not you, because you're a social butterfly, but me, I'm like, did they not invite me because they knew I wouldn't come? Did they not invite me because they thought I'd be busy?
Did I miss the invite?
Yeah, did they just not like me? Did I piss this person off? And you started going through it that way.
Exactly. And I think that's what social media has done to us as a culture. And it's sickening. It's toxic. It's terrible. Like we can't get away from this idea of constantly stacking ourselves against other people's lives instead of saying, what do I have in front of me? What can I be grateful for today? What is good about the life that I've built for myself now? Instead of like, that person's life is so much better than mine. I'm so sad and depressed and anxious and all of these other crazy mental health issues that our generations are dealing with now, or that they were dealing with before, you know, in private and secretly. But I think social media has absolutely exacerbated this idea of feeling lonelier than ever despite being more connected than ever.
It's, you know, I forget who it was, but I've stolen it and said it a lot. It's, you know, you have to remember that social media is somebody's highlight reel, right? That these are the moments they're choosing to share with you, not that this is it's not a documentary of what they're really going through. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I think E3 is a perfect example of that for me. I made a point to go to specific events and take photos with the girls.
Oh my God, right.
But meanwhile, here's me with my fucking walker being like, oh, I got to go back to the hotel room and lay down because I hurt everywhere because I had surgery 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, that's the thing is like you want people to see the best of you. You don't want people to see you when you're vulnerable and when shit's hard. Yeah. Because like, then I just always feel like I'm asking for sympathy and I never want that.
Do you ever, you're talking about how we Monday morning quarterback everything. Do you ever think about letting people in on that more? Because I feel like that's the one thing you get a lot. I mean, don't get me wrong. We'll get, I'm sure in this conversation, the hate you get on the videos, which is completely undeserved in a million different things, right? And how it is a double standard even there. You know what I mean? Even in our community of this different stuff of how you're treated. But I think it's, you know, for me personally, early on, and this wasn't me doing it for social media likes or anything to that effect, but like, you know, getting divorced on GameScoop, right? And talking about that, having to go through cancer, having to share as much as I can or do, you know what I mean? Because generally I'm a pretty happy person. You know, I'm cranky, or the emails are getting me, or like that day in Seattle when I was bummed out.
Yeah.
Like I am the person I am on social media, right? But like I know sharing those watershed moments, those moments that did bring me up to something bad, right, did help, I think, craft me a new narrative, not a new narrative, but mold the narrative to be more real, where it is the fact that I'm not just this fucking guy who's very loud and talks about PlayStation. Like I think, you know,
you're a person.
Cancer in particular did reveal to a lot of people like, oh no, he's a human being. Like this is a thing that's happening.
Yeah,
and I know you're more
course.
protective about all that stuff.
Yeah, it's tough. I think the harassment thing's a big thing. I think that's what's been great about What's Good Games is that we're able to open up to that community a lot better because it feels like a safer space than any other community I've ever been a part of in my career, because we built it from the ground up. And Brittany has done tireless work making sure that it stays a safe community. And we have a fantastic group of admins and mods who help us in that endeavor as well. And because we want people to know, like, hey, like we want you guys to be able to come here and connect with other people who share your passions. Yeah. We don't want this to be a sounding board for why you're angry. There's 1,000,001 places on the internet where you can go be an asshole to somebody. It's not going to be here. Yeah. And because of that, like it's helped me kind of open the door to allow myself to be a little bit more vulnerable on camera and to open up my life to people. But it's been tough, you know, like when you get bullied because your mom's gay, do you ever want to open up about having two moms? No. But thankfully I'm at a point now where I can, you know, and like having What's Good has been that place for me, and being able to have people share their experiences and their stories too has been awesome. But I think like I'm still like really afraid of it.
Really?
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing about it, right? Is I feel like and again, this is always the shittiest way of talking about any of this shit.
Yeah.
But I talk about it when we talk about online harassment, and I talk about how working at IGN galvanized. Like you're formed in steel after that first year because you've heard everything. And that was the thing for me of checking out on it eventually was just like, well, they already weaponized like my reviews or these things, or they make up a story or whoever. So it's like, what do I fucking care if they're actually calling? You know what I mean? Like today when I'll get it like, oh, you soy boy, you beta male, you cuck, you blah blah. It's like, all right, whatever. Like, why would I give a shit what you fucking think? You know what I mean? You don't want to have a conversation. You don't want to do it. And we talk about that all the time too. And like, that's the thing about it that I don't want to say I miss because it's not true. Kind of Funny has a great community, obviously. Best friends are amazing. But somewhere along the line, the narrative got lost of what it was in the beginning days when it was very small. And it was that, it became just by watching this, you're a best friend. What the message obviously always was by watching this and wanting to engage in a positive way, you're a best friend, right? On the day one, I remember us talking about like, if you give me a dick or whatever, leave. We don't want your money. We don't want your Patreon. And that's still the case. And it's still the case in our messaging. And it's still the case, I fully believe, in the people who are patrons, are the most hardcore fans who are going to Ree's house, Ree and New's house or whatever. You know what I mean? It's when you get into the fact that YouTube is just whoever wants to come on through, right? And there's a lot of people who really fucking hate all of us, but want to come through and see the game.
Kick them to the curb, Greg. You can do it.
But I'm with you, and I do. And then it gets into this balancing act of it, right? Where it's like, even when they yell at anybody, right? And it's like, I've never liked this person, right, or whatever, and I don't like this opinion and stuff. Even for me, then I still have the IGN mentality beat in of just like, all right, well, they're saying they don't like me, Greg Miller, right? They don't like this thing. I don't want to ban them just for that. They're allowed to have that opinion. Of course, when they cross the bridge, like this fucking guy and he's cuck, blah, blah, blah. Like, all right, well, yeah, done, bye. You know what I mean? But even then, it's just such a thing of, I still feel the best way of dealing with trolls is just ignore them and let them drown out. And that's why I always try to encourage the audience, right? Of like, don't fight for me. Come and be the change you want to see and say the positive thing and thumb up the vote you like and heart the, you know what I mean? Do all that jazz rather than get into a 7-message thread with this person who's not here to talk to us. They don't care about us. They don't adopt our message.
I guess my philosophy is just that allowing those people to think that it's okay to post those things encourages it to continue. And
again, we're operating in a gray area. I definitely don't mean any
absolutely
slurs, attacks personal of like, fuck that, I hate.
Content curation is so many shades of gray, and it's 100% subjective. And like, even at What's Good, we've gotten into some arguments with some fans because we've deleted some threads or some posts, and they've reached out to us and been like, hey, like, I didn't violate the rules. Why did you delete my post?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
well, I mean, basically, like, we have to like essentially pull them aside and say, hey, this is what you did. This was our reasoning behind it.
Yeah.
And this is why we don't think it's cool. And if you're not okay with that, you're allowed to express and to give us your feedback, your constructive feedback. But ultimately, like, we stand behind the decisions of our admins and our mods 100%. Because they know what we want because we've communicated it clearly. But it's tough because we had to boot somebody from our community not that long ago that had been with us since What's Good launched because they had multiple, not Drake, because they had multiple offenses. And we're like, listen, you clearly just want to do the thing you want to do. And that's cool. You're just not going to do it here.
Yeah.
And we're sorry to see you go. We've enjoyed having you for some of these other conversations, but like, we don't want people to think that it's not a safe space, and you're making it not a safe space.
Yeah.
And so maybe you need to take a look at what's going on with you and why you keep coming back to these super combative arguments and these super hostile ways of interacting with people that you don't even know.
Yeah.
And I think that that's something, that we all need to look at and look 100%. At our behavior online and go, would I say this to the person if they were sitting across the desk from me right now? Probably not. And so why do I feel empowered to say it online? It's like, I've always been an eternal optimist. And so it's like that those anger issues are difficult for me to understand overall, but I just don't understand how people can have so much space to be so angry.
Yeah. So much time.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I think that's, you talk about like the differences between Kind of Funny and What's Good. And I think it's mainly time, in terms of how long we've been around and doing this stuff. But it's just the fact of like, everyone here is like running around with 15,000 tasks, right? And it's the reason our Facebook group is a fan page, and we don't run it. It's the reason the subreddit, me and Joey are mods on it, but the only time I ever mod it is when it's spam. Because I'm not going to I don't have time, number one, to get into the semantics of an argument with somebody. Not to mention, I don't even personally know the rules. Because it's just you know what I mean? Like, that's the way we had to decide to do it early on when it started getting not out of control, but like when we were growing too fast to be able to dedicate a spot to that, right? Because Barrett needs to be doing a million other things that aren't also waiting in there. You know, Joey jokingly was hired as community manager, right? And then very quickly became the backbone of the entire operation and make sure anybody does anything here.
Definitely like the head of operations, it feels like.
Exactly. And that's the thing is everybody's wearing so many hats and running around doing so many things that you have to, we had to pick and choose battles, I think. And so sometimes I wonder, you know what I mean, if we didn't, because I don't like the idea that the message has been lost of what a best friend is, and I know it has been. Right? Like I saw it in the comments of your thing today, which one guy was like, a lot of best friends being toxic in these comments, and it's like, well, no, you know they aren't best friends, and also like it was obviously it was the normal people who are the first commenters who want to be all these assholes, and now it's just it's unwavering support. Now it's all the positive people being there saying the right things and the positive things and being normal people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's also so confusing to me why someone will come into the comments on some of the videos, say, I haven't listened to KFGD for a long time, but I'm very mad about this one thing that I obviously didn't listen to, but I'm mad about it. I'm going to tell you how stupid you are and how mad I am. And I'm like, I just, like, why? Why are you?
This is exhausting.
Why are you using your time?
Yeah,
to
exactly.
do
You're not
this?
even here. Like, you don't even know what you're talking about. That's always the worst when you get a tweet about something.
Yeah.
And I'm literally like, watch the video you're commenting on. Like, you know what I mean? Like, look at what you're not doing this right.
Yeah, it's tough because I want to be able to communicate with the people that want to have constructive, conversations about things that's happening both on the show, because you and I wanted to make the show the best it could possibly be, whether it's, KFGD or any of the other shows, here at Kind of Funny. And it's like, in order to do that, you have to talk to your audience about, what are we getting right and what are we getting wrong? Yeah. But the people who are willing to have those conversations are so buried underneath some of the people who just want to like light fires. And it's tough. I get why you look at like the literal garbage truck on fire and go like, you know what? Maybe I just let that fire burn over there and I don't mind myself about it.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to who you think, and this is me, who I think the audience is for a given thing, right? Whereas I just feel like YouTube comments in general aren't that. Like, I feel like there's people, it's like today, it's their final episode. A whole bunch of people have shown up to be like, oh my God, thank you so much, blah, blah. We're getting way more comments than we normally do. Yeah. Usually it is people looking for fights and looking to flame wars and looking to be shitty and yell at each other. And I'm not saying that to every YouTube commenter, everybody calm down. But it's like, for me personally, as a Reddit user, I feel most of the Reddit threads are on point, and then I'll never get to the bottom and there's like 3 comments that have been downvoted to hell, and I open them up and guess what? It's the same names you've seen a million times on the subreddit who just show up to be shitty and just show up to start shit.
Kick them out.
It's my thing. It's like I can't.
Yes, you can.
If I was gonna do that, then I'd be like, all right, cool, we need a community team and we need to take over the Reddit.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to come in there and be like, all right, I'm banning this person. People are like, why? I'm like, well, he was rude. And it's like, I don't even know. Is that how the fucking thing works on the Reddit? I don't know. For me,
talk shit, get shot. Isn't that what you guys say?
That is what we say.
I'm pretty sure that's a thing here.
Moderators are free to change the Reddit to talk shit, get shot. I'm fine with that too.
I think it's in the Twitch chat rules.
It probably is there too. Yeah.
But yeah, no, you and I have talked about this. I talked about this a lot, and thankfully, like I'd mentioned, Brittany and I also can't do it on our own. We're assisted by, as I mentioned, a fantastic team of admins and mods on all of our social platforms that are there to help us, and they escalate things to us if there's like a specific issue that they're like, hey, like we want you guys' eyes on this. We have good communication with them about it, but I'm just having that in like a don't give a fuck kind of mentality now, because I've been dealing with it for so many years at this point that I'm like, if you come here to just like talk shit to me, deleted. Goodbye. I don't care. I don't, like you said, I don't need your view. I don't need your sub. If you're here to be a dick, get lost.
Yeah. Fair. Yeah. So, Andrea.
Yes, Greg.
This is kind of like your exit interview. For Kind of Funny. I've never done a one-on-one podcast. We have cool friends. Anything like, well, it didn't exist. I think last time anybody quit, right? Yeah, when we fired Jared, he just walked out. Yeah. What do we need to know? What are we good at? What are we bad at? What would be better for the next host, the next hire, the next whatever?
Oh man, he told me he was going to ask these questions, and I'm still like not prepared to answer them.
I told you like what. 20 minutes ago, an hour ago when you were eating cake. Like, it's not like I gave you a whole week's heads up.
I think you guys are great at a lot of things. I think that you guys are great at working with your community to pivot the content, to say, hey, you know what? We tried this show. didn't quite work. Let's, like shelve it and try something else. And it's tough because there's a fine balance between, hey, we have to give it enough time to breathe and really test it out.
Sure.
But
We have cool friends.
but also like, hey, we tried that thing, and either from a production standpoint or from a programming standpoint, it just didn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so if you look at like the arc of all of Kind of Funny content since you guys have started, both on mainstream Kind of Funny and Kind of Funny Games, I think you have such a amazing, diverse selection of the stuff that you guys have worked on, and really how you've grown in your content, since you've launched. So I think that that's an absolute testament to the work that you guys are doing as content creators, for sure, and the man hours that you put in.
Yeah.
And I remember the first time I walked into the studio, and I was like, what the heck? This is way too fancy for you.
And it is.
But like, it's actually super genius set design, and to be able to
Matt Scarpino. Get him in your garage.
He's too expensive for me, I think. He's not cheap, that Matt Scarpino. So I think that what you've done recently with reaching out and bringing in new voices to all of the Kind of Funny shows, whether it be younger people, women, people of color, just like making sure to like give those voices, a platform. People who represent organizations like Stack Up, or people like Steve Saylor who represent gamers with disabilities. I think making sure that those voices get heard because you have a platform is a fantastic thing that you guys are doing, and I'm excited to see more, to see who else you're going to bring, to the Kind of Funny slate of shows.
I think that for us, that's our take on you talking about aging out of it, right? Where it's like, I think I'm going to play games forever, and I think I'll talk about games forever. I think there will be a section of my audience that is 60 and does so want to hear me yammer about whatever platinum on the PlayStation 7 I'm getting. I also think that that's not going to be the 17-year-old, 20-year-old, whoever's cup of tea. And that's why it is important for us to start elevating voices and one day hopefully bring them on, that they make new shows and they're bringing new audiences. And the cycle continues.
Well, because naturally as we get older, your hobbies and your passions change, your lifestyle changes.
Sure.
Maybe you stop gaming as much and you only game a little bit. And so that audience shrinks and shrinks and shrinks as we get older. And just the raw demographics from the ESA show that. Like the older age groups are smaller, right? And the younger age groups are the ones who are funding all of this, right? And so you do have to kind of shift that. I would like to see you guys have more female voices on the show.
Me too, man.
Don't get me wrong, Imran is great, even though people apparently think that we hate each other because we had that one tense moment.
God forbid, if you have one tense moment with anybody on a Kind of Funny show, let me tell you.
I'm just an instant bitch, Greg.
I know, right?
You guys give each other shit all day long, and the moment I do it, she's so rude.
She
she's
doesn't
so
want
mean.
opinions on games.
And I'm like, oh, please get your sexism out of here. But no, I think having bringing more females in and bringing more women in is something I would like to see you guys do.
And we will. I know. But it's a comment I see, especially with you leaving. And when we did say, "Oh, Imran's coming on," people are like, "Oh, that's great. Wish it would have been a woman." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I get that, and I feel that, and I think that it was funny today on your final episode. One of the comments was, "Man, people turn over really quick at IGN or Kind of Funny." I still like IGN all the time. Kind of Funny, right? And it's the idea of that we haven't lost a full-time employee yet.
Yeah.
It's only contractors because we're not in the place that we can hire you or anybody, you, Jared, Imran, to come on and you are a full-time host. You will do this thing. And so inevitably we lose you people because it's a part-time gig and there's going to be a full-time. Imran's a real interesting case of I love Imran. I think he's awesome on the shows. I don't know how long he'll legitimately be with us, where it is cool, come on and do this, but also you live in San Francisco, you're gonna need to find a full-time job or start your own Patreon or start your own Twitch or do whatever. When that happens, we'll be super happy and have him go. But that also means that I feel that people lose sight of, in the conversation, that we're cheating. You know what I mean? We're picking up the people who are free. Whenever somebody leaves, it's always oh man, they should hire Brian Altano. They should hire Lucy James. And it's they have full-time jobs at the biggest websites going. That's not what we're doing with a co-host role, right? We would need Lucy or Brian to quit those jobs and then be in the Bay Area and be like, yeah, I'll come by 2 afternoons or whatever, 3 days a week or something like that.
Exactly.
And that's what gets missed. And so it's this weird thing of we've been so weirdly blessed where you know what I mean? When people are always oh man, why didn't you move somewhere else? Part of the strength of Kind of Funny, I think, is that even though we're not anymore, we're in between two camps of being influencers and IGN. And so that always works when people come up to show games to IGN or GameSpot. They always make a time to come to Kind of Funny. When people still think of us in a big way, or we have enough of a presence to get Luke Smith to come down here and do this stuff. That's cool. But it also works in the way that, cool, you're sick, I'm gone, this is happening. Let's call GameSpot. Let's call IGN. They'll send over 2 people to do the show with it because it's a cool collab thing, right? And like, if we were to move to the middle of nowhere, right, and like we're moving to Columbia, Missouri, right? Like, we're fucked if I ever go somewhere and get sick. There's no one to step in and do that.
Just come to LA.
Get out of here with this LA.
Come on to LA. There's so many people.
I don't want Brandon Jones showing up on the show.
Yes, you do.
I do, actually. I do.
He's great.
But I think people lose sight of that it's like we're just blessed in the way that when we left, I thought we'd be leaning so hard on the other .coms. And in reality, so many people followed us in this, like, not exodus, but like a chart your own course thing, that it was easy to be like, got you, we got Danny, we got Jared, we got Fran. I was like, who's the other person? Fran. Now we got Imran, right? Like every time it seems like something's about to be like, oh fuck, what are we gonna do? Somebody else is like, I'm stepping out and doing my own thing. It's like, oh, thank goodness we can make it happen. Yeah. And so that's the interesting trade-off. One day, don't get me wrong, I hope
I'm freeing up some budget for you, Miller.
Yeah, I know you are. Don't worry. It's been a roller coaster of emotions around here. Fuck, Andrea's leaving. Well, wait a second. Like, we give her a good amount, not a great amount, but like, what would that look like? What's that over a year? Okay, well, fuck, that could be, okay, well, yeah. But Andrea's leaving, you know what I mean? Like, that's the trade-off and the weird thing about it, like trying to keep this whole ship running and doing it the way we do it.
I have mad respect for how you guys take these people's lives so seriously and how you bust your ass to make financial opportunities for this business, because you know you've got to pay Joey's rent. You've got to pay Andy's rent. Yeah. You know, someone's got to feed Kevin. Yeah. And so it's like the fact that you guys have this responsibility to your staff is something, you know, that Britt and I don't have. We have responsibility to ourselves, you know? Yeah. And I have nothing but respect for how hard you guys work to make sure that you can keep the lights on. And like, I know that we're constantly shilling for underwear and blankets and, you know, ball deodorant.
That's the weirdest ad now, isn't it?
It really is. But it's like, it's all to enrich these people's lives and to take care of them. And I know sometimes certain members of the community forget about that. It's like, we're doing this because these people's livelihoods are at stake, you know? And I want people to remember that, you know, when they look at everything that you guys have built.
It's interesting because I think it's honestly the new stuff that'll get them, right? Where it's like the ads nowadays everybody gets. And again, it's always, you can go to Patreon, you can get it ad free if you want, right? And support us that way if you wanted. But it's like the Borderlands show. Like I've had a lot of conversations on Reddit, or not a lot. I had a main conversation on a Reddit thread yesterday because I haven't been on a show with anybody to talk about it, right?
Right.
And so it was that conversation of like, oh, like, no, you guys got it all twisted. Like, no, I wouldn't sign a contract to do a show where I couldn't say I don't like it.
Of course
not.
Like,
you know what I mean?
And
like,
nobody would ask you to do that, for the record.
Exactly. And that was the thing with how this all came to be, is that, you know, 2K and Gearbox, I guess, but mainly 2K, did so much E3 coverage. They saw the one segment they did where people just talked about the game perform really well. And they're like, oh, maybe we should do a podcast. Who does a good podcast? Kind of Funny does. Who is fans of Borderlands? Kind of Funny is. And so they came to us, and the first question was like, well, yeah, but like, you don't own us. No, you can say whatever the fuck you want. You don't like it, don't say you don't like it. If you didn't like this content drop, don't do this.
It's part of Take-Two's influencer policy. I think that's a great thing for, you know, the FCC stepping in and saying, hey, you know what? We need to put some rules in place. And I think the rules are way too restrictive, but I think it's also important that people realize that there are laws in place to make sure that people like you and I have the right to say whatever we want when we're working with somebody.
Yeah, of course.
That we don't need to be bound by like a non-disparagement clause. Yeah. You know, and obviously there are restrictions and every contract is different. Yeah. But it's like, you and I wouldn't be who we are if we were shilling bullshit. Yeah. You know, and like, that's the tough part, the questions that I always have when people write in and are like, you know, I don't know how I feel about you guys getting these gifts. Like, I saw somebody writing to Britt after she posted that photo of that crazy Xbox
the Gear stuff
package that came for Gears 5. He was like, this is like thousands of dollars worth of stuff. I don't know how comfortable I am with you getting all this stuff and then talking about the game. And, you know, and Britt's response was, you know, you either trust me to be authentic or you don't. And I can't convince you that I'm being authentic. It's like, people listen to What's Good or they listen to Kind of Funny because they trust your voice, they trust your opinions, they want your unique perspective. Right. You know, people aren't coming to us for an objective piece of news. They're coming to us for our take on the news, right?
Yeah, like, exactly.
And that's the thing that I feel like I'm constantly having to re-explain. I've decided we're going to put a policy up on the new What's Good site because we're relaunching our website in like a week or two. And It's going to.
It might be now. Check it out.
It's not. Oh yeah.
Well, depending on when this posts.
Who
I don't
knows?
know.
So because a lot of the main big sites have this policy of like, here's who we accept to travel from, and here's our policy with review copies. And I was like, we should put that up so I can stop answering this question.
It won't stop the question.
And just let people know. It's just like, hey, I work with developers. Christine used to be a developer, you know, and it's like, and Alexa used to work with a developer, and it's just like,
Brent drinks a lot.
Yeah, she launched her own website. Here's the thing: it's like we built our company off of our industry experience, and we sold ourselves on 30 plus years of professional video games industry experience. We hope you're coming because of our experience, because of our relationships with the publishers and the developers, because we have an inside view, a different perspective. If you just want to hear a cut and dried objective journalist's opinion, there are a million other sites for that. That's not what What's Good is. And if at any point you are concerned about an advertiser or someone we're working with, we're always accepting emails if you want to reach out to us. But it's becoming exhausting that I have to constantly remind people that me, you, IGN, GameSpot, they all work with the publishers. They all take money from the publishers. It's just part of being in the video games business. And then it's up to you to decide how much that bothers you
100%.
and if you want to watch or not. And if it bothers you, you know what? You don't have to watch me. Jim Sterling has a fantastic channel.
Yeah.
He's a great person that you can go, and his whole thing is he never accepts anything from anybody. So
no, I 100% agree with you. Yeah, and I think all of that gets better with time. I feel like we're in a much different place where like the Borderlands thing, like for real, was like 2 or 3 Reddit threads, right? And I caught this most recent one. I caught it, and I was like, hey, this is, and it wasn't even like, calm down. Nobody was like angry. It was just like, I haven't explained this well because I haven't been on a show. When you see the show, it'll make sense that it's Kind of Funny Games Daily plus an Up at Noon interview only about, like, I guess bracketed only about Borderlands, right? But it was that idea. I said the same thing in there, right? Where I'm like, you know, well, I have to worry about, and it's like, I understand that, but like, if you have to worry about that, I'm not even mad. I feel like maybe you don't know me then. You know what I mean? Of like, I would never do that. I've said from day one, this is all about authenticity. Like, I'm authentically excited about Borderlands. So yeah, I'm down to do the show. And that was my thing yesterday where I was talking about the review policy, the send it out on the Epic Game Store and all that jazz, right?
Right.
And they said, should we be concerned about this? And I was like, they were talking about it as gamers and Kind of Funny fans or whatever. So I broke it in 2 different ways. I'm like, as a gamer, yeah, you really should be fucking concerned about this. Like, it's probably nothing. It's probably part of the Epic deal. It's probably maybe the AMD deal that they want you doing this on. But always concerning to me when I was reviewing games if I didn't get all the copies. Like, are they trying to hide something? What's going on? Of course, it says there's a whole post you can go read basically that goes back and forth. Like, this could be a problem. It might not be. I played it last night to level 10 on PlayStation 4. Not a problem. Ran great for me. I don't, you know what I mean? Pre-release, I don't know, whatever. Retail build. But then the Kind of Funny thing was like, listen, it's just us being us and doing this. Like, and I'm like, you have to understand, like, if this doesn't run, as before I played it last night, but I was like, if I go home tonight and this runs like shit on PlayStation 4, if you think the first episode of the Borderlands show isn't going to be me going, what the fuck, Paul Sage? What are you thinking? I'm Greg Miller, the PlayStation guy. I'd be done. You'd never be able to believe another word I would say. It would sink the entire business, the whole operation. Like, you know what I mean? And it's not that. And that's not that I don't want people to question me. I don't want these conversations. I don't want anything like that. This was maybe even as I try to summarize sounding more combative than it was. I get that people need to hear that every so often.
Right.
And I think that's what it comes down to, especially in what I'm saying about doing this longer in terms of the public facing who you are, authenticity, you know, what your values are.
Absolutely.
Like, I know you've been doing it forever, but again, I think in terms of how long What's Good's been around.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think there's also just a subset of people who
never will be happy.
Well, and who want me to publicly decry others, who want me to lambaste them, who want me to be this harsh critic and say these nasty things.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's just not who I am as a person.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, there's a gif, a Corey gif where I say, if you don't have anything nice to say, Tim says, shut the fuck up. But it seems like that's not okay either. It's like,
oh, well, nothing's okay. We're on the internet.
Oh yeah, it's damned if you do, damned if you don't, for sure.
I'll see the comments all the time, right? Of just like, man, Andrea's so combative. Then 2 comments later, I'll see, man, everybody on the Gamescast just agrees with each other. And it's like, well, like, I don't know what you want it to be. Like, all we can ever do is show up, sit down, and do a show we'd want to do and say what we honestly believe. And if that isn't for you, I get it. I totally get it. And I totally get me saying, like, I liked this game, and you going, I hated that game, and that being the dialogue, great.
Right.
But when it's like the weirdest, like nickel and diming, this weird Monday morning quarter, it's like, what? Okay. Like that's when it all, you can see the two comments come and knock themselves out and fall away. And you're like, well, that's not something I have to listen to. I can't deal with that and whatever.
Exactly.
Andrea.
Greg.
Are you ready to go to the friend zone?
Let's go to the friend
People
zone.
wrote into patreon.com/kindafunny with questions for you.
Maybe I could text Joey to bring me some more champagne.
Joey, can we have more champagne? Oh, you want an ad break, Kev? Big Kev Dog wants an ad break, and I don't mind. Everybody, here's a word from our sponsors. This episode of We Have Cool Friends is brought to you by Escape the Invasion. You've got to check out this game called Escape the Invasion. It's all about immersive experiences, and they just announced the launch of their new post-apocalyptic themed subscription box. Picture this scenario. You're in the middle of a post-apocalyptic world that has been ravaged by a deadly virus inflicted by aliens. Would you survive? With Escape the Invasion, you can find out. Each month, you'll receive a box of clues, physical items, and evidence that will get you closer to survival. It's up to you to piece it all together, solve the mystery, and save humanity. It's been called an escape room delivered to your door where Fallout meets aliens. It's a great way to get off your phones and start connecting with friends, or if you prefer, play solo. You can interact with their online community, swapping theories and helping each other out. Right now, for our listeners, you can go to escapetheinvasion.com/morning for 20% off your first box. That's escapetheinvasion.com/morning for 20% off your first box. Escapetheinvasion.com/morning. See if you can survive the alien apocalypse. Up next, it's HelloFresh. You all know I have a show called Cooking with Greggy. I love cooking, and I love it when it's easy. That's why HelloFresh is great. HelloFresh makes cooking delicious meals at home a reality, regardless of your comfort level in the kitchen. From step-by-step recipes to pre-measured ingredients, you'll have everything you need to get a wow-worthy dinner on the table in just 30 minutes. Say goodbye to endless grocery store trips and takeout food. HelloFresh has you covered. Again, Jen and I have used this before. They send it to you, you break out the instructions, you break out the ingredients, and you get going. Of course, I love cooking, period, but what I love about this is I come home from work, and it's already done. I have different meals to choose from depending on the meal plan. I decide which one I want to cook that night. I make it. 30 minutes, we're in, we're out, we're eating, we're having fun. We're back to playing video games. Break out of your dinner rut with HelloFresh's 20-plus seasonal chef-curated recipes each week. You can add extra meals to your weekly order, as well as yummy add-ons like garlic bread and cookie dough. Ladies and gentlemen, you can get 9 free meals with HelloFresh by going to HelloFresh.com/morning9 and using the code morning9. Again, HelloFresh.com/morning9 using the code morning9. I can't recommend it enough. I love cooking the delicious meals. We made these burgers from them this one day. Fantastic. Go do it. And finally, HoneyBook. If you started your own business, you are your own boss. But along with being the CEO, you're also the accountant, marketing manager, creative director, executive assistant, and many more titles. Trust me, we know. If you don't do it, it doesn't get done. And if you need help doing it, you need HoneyBook. HoneyBook is an online business management tool that organizes your client communications, bookings, contracts, and invoices all in one place. It's perfect for freelancers, entrepreneurs, or small business owners that want to consolidate services they already use like QuickBooks, Google Suite, Excel, and MailChimp. With HoneyBook, you can automate your busy work. They have easy-to-use templates for emails, proposals, brochures, and invoices. They also have e-signatures and built-in automation to save you time and get paid faster. Simplify your to-do list and stay in control with HoneyBook. Of course, we all know this too well here working at Kinda Funny. We all wear a million different hats, and HoneyBook is helpful to making sure that doesn't happen. I believe Kevin is the one who's using it now, making sure everything gets put together, because somebody's got to man this ship around here, and I think it's Kevin most of the time. And if it's not Kevin, it's Joey. But somebody's doing it. HoneyBook's helping. Right now, HoneyBook is offering our listeners 50% off when you visit honeybook.com/morning. Payment is flexible, and this promotion applies whether you pay monthly or annually. Go to honeybook.com/morning for 50% off your first year. That's honeybook.com/morning. And we're back, everybody. We're in the friend zone. We're texting Joey about champagne, and we're going in here. Here, you didn't answer this, so Brandon Kagan, gotcha. Patreon.com/kindafunny.
Kagan.
Probably, yeah.
Trust me, we've gone through this with Brandon many times.
It's Brandon K. Brandon writes into patreon.com/kindafunny and says, for Mrs. Rene. You go Ms., right? Because it would be Mrs. Drake.
Correct.
Ms. Okay. With you now leaving Kinda Funny behind for LA.
Thanks, Joey.
Can I have one too? I got a glass. I'll be fine. I got a chalice, remember this? 100th Platinum? No big deal. You remember that, Jay? Thank you, Kevin.
We're going to have to pop that other bottle for sure.
Nice. I'm hoping to hear what's the one thing you'd like to see KF do better or improve upon now that you won't be around to keep these around to be the adult and keep these people in line. I hope the move goes well. I'm looking forward to what comes next and the happy hour Q&A stream. As always, have a wonderful rest of your day. Yeah, I said what do we do well and what do we not do well in your exit interview. You distracted me with saying nice things and got away from it. What do we do poorly?
What do you do poorly?
Besides wake Fran up. Like, what's the sticking point for you in terms of being an employee? This is what I said to you earlier, right? Of like, I'll never know what it's like to come through the door and be an employee or be a co-host or be anything like that. You can give me the real deal. I can take it.
I think I would have liked in all the years that I've worked with you guys, I would have loved to have like a weekly or monthly content call to talk about this is what the plan is for content this month. These are the special events we're doing. These are the guests that we're having on. Sure. I think I felt a lot of times that I was like creatively left out a lot because I was a part-timer.
Sure.
And it would have been fun to feel like I was included at least part of the way. And a weekly call maybe have been 2 months, but maybe like a monthly call to be like, hey, like for the month of September, this is what we have coming up. Like, you never told me you were doing the Borderlands show. I found out on fucking Twitter.
On camera, I'll have you know, I told you you'd be mad about the next thing, but we were on camera, so I couldn't tell you what it was. Because, I mean, like, this is like...
Thanks, Joey.
Thank you, Joey. We love you. This is, honestly, a very rare thing. Cheers.
Cheers.
That you and I are sitting down and talking for an hour and a half, just you and I. Like, that,
true.
outside of Games Daily, which doesn't count, that doesn't happen. When you get here in the morning for Games Daily, I'm building the dock and usually don't look at you. That's why I compliment you on your outfit so much when I sit down and actually look at you. I'm like, oh, fuck, I didn't know you were wearing that shirt. You look great. But then we're off camera. You've got your next job. I'm on a phone call. This is going on. Like, granted, when we're lucky, we'll all go out like double date or whatever. But even then, it's like, now we got to hear it's John yakking away and Jen yakking away about them making the games. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Yeah, those developers always talking about games. But yeah, I think it would have been great to have that connection to feel more as part of the team.
Sure.
I think maybe I feel that way because I was involved in so many other shows and kind of funny, not just like coming in for one or two things here and there. Yeah. So I think that's something maybe you guys want to consider being like, this is a total company meeting, even if it's like a Skype call, you know, like no, people don't have to physically be in the office, but just to be like, hey, this is the cool stuff that we have cooking. This is what we're working on, and if people have stuff to contribute, because you guys have this great roster of people that you run in and out of here now as part-timers. And even if you think of someone like Fran, I know everyone loves to rag on him, but he's got decades of invaluable production experience of things that he could bring to the table and say, hey, I worked on this one project this one time. Did you think maybe about adding this to the thing that you're working on? You know what I mean?
That's great. That's really valuable.
And really like utilizing the people that come in here.
Yeah, because I think, we're bad at a lot of things. But I mean, it goes downhill too. Where I remember when Barrett's first day, I was here to greet him, and I was just like, "All right, so heads up, we're bad managers. So you need to check in with us and tell us how you're doing, what we're doing wrong, and like all that stuff, because we're still learning how to do that. You know what I mean? I know we've had the conversation with you, but I just with Imran when we were doing it, it was the same conversation with him of like, and like we have all the stuff and all the lights and whatever. So like, if you have another show, pitch us a show. All right, and we'll never check in on him. I remember having that conversation with you and Tim of like, what do you want to do? Let us know, all right? And then we just like fucking, you're making your own shit. We're doing our own thing. Everybody's moving a million fucking miles an hour.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay. Kevin, how'd that employee review coming too, right? Lord almighty, you know what I mean?
I'm glad that you guys are doing reviews. It's important.
Don't get ahead of yourself. I think it was 3 weeks ago I sent out the thing, and then it was a deadline on Monday, and then I've been on the road for 3 weeks. Well, 3 months ago we were supposed to have a different conversation about it, and then we started having it, and I kept telling you we're moving it. All right? Yeah. We're on the ball. I'm gathering the stuff. We'll get together for the employee reviews. Don't you worry.
By November, we'll start scheduling it.
By the end of September, you'll have had your employee review. This will be wrapped up. Take it to the bank. I will bet you a steak dinner. But that means you got to give me... Yeah, fancy steak dinner anywhere you want. Okay.
Make him take you to Michael Mina.
When I win, my counter bet is just Lucho's, because it'll be easier to get to.
No, we can both do steak.
Do we both have to wear suits?
We get to wear suits?
Are we bringing the ladies or just us?
That's your choice.
Oh, I don't like that. He's putting too much pressure on me. You have to wear a right and a left shoe. Danny writes in. Danny Tomeo. I don't know if you know him too. Patreon.com/kindafunny to be in the friend zone. It says, what's something professional that you've learned from Kinda Funny that you'll take with you in every job? We'll miss you on Kinda Funny. We'll just have to watch What's Good twice as much.
Something.
That's a big question.
Something professional that I'll take with me to every job. Always ask for more money?
Perfect. Nailed it. Yeah.
No, but the genesis for that, of course, is I've learned a lot about building presentations and marketing, from a content creator standpoint from Tim, because it was something that I never really had to do because I always worked at major MCNs and these networks that had whole sales teams that just did it. I got to focus on making the content. I never had to sell the content. Yeah. And so watching all the tough times that you guys went through at the very beginning of it, like we have the Patreon, it's not going to be enough. Yeah. We need to figure out another way to sell Kinda Funny. And how do we sell the content? How do we package the content to sell the content to make sure that if the Patreon funds are low one month, we can still pay the bills, And so I think, making sure that you're valuing your brand at the appropriate amount is a tough thing because it's like this shadowy thing. Like, do I talk to other content creators about what they're charging? Like, how much did this ad spot be worth? What about this custom content integration? Everything's like a custom package. There's not really a rate card. And it's like figuring that out and what's important is something that was an invaluable thing that I learned from working with Tim here at Kinda Funny.
He's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Tim's pretty amazing. He doesn't even have credit for it. He shouldn't have stole my look by gaining weight and putting on glasses, but I won't get mad at him. You know what I mean?
Do you remember when Tim didn't have a beard?
Vaguely. It was
I remember when you didn't have a beard.
Yeah, of course. That wasn't that long ago. That's easy.
God,
yeah.
never go back.
I know. No, I can't. That's the problem. It's like today. So yesterday I meant to bring in my other glasses. Those silver ones that I wore at Kinda Funny prom. Then wear them on the Kinda Funny podcast. That way Tim and I don't look so much alike. And then I was like, I forgot. And then today I grabbed them and I'm like, I don't want to wear these all day. I got to get them in here. Because if Tim and I are on the same show, we just can't do it anymore. Somebody's got to change. And I'll be damned if it's me that's going to work out. You know what I mean? Damned, Kevin. Tomfoolery 12051 writes into patreon.com/kindafunny where you can put in whatever name you want. You don't. Anyways. Hey, Andrea. I'm new to the Kinda Funny channels, but I have enjoyed your contributions to Kinda Funny Games Daily and Game of Thrones in Review. My question is, what is your favorite memory of news breaking during Kinda Funny Games Daily? Wish you the best of luck in LA.
Oh, wow. Trying to think of news that broke during the show.
Yeah, when PlayStation pulled out of E3 with John Phipps.
That was a big one.
What?
Trying to think back. There's been so many episodes of KFGD.
That's a tough one. I just don't, because the news breaks, but then it just becomes the news. I don't think about it outside of me freaking out about the PlayStation thing.
Yeah.
You can count when I got banned from E3. You know what I mean? I had
that happened right before we went live too.
Yeah, that was not good.
But you conveniently had that suit.
Well, I have a lot of suits here. Wait till you see October's suit. Wait. Andrea.
Yes.
Juan Lobo writes in, says, best/worst Nick Scarpino story. You will be truly missed, Andrea.
Best/worst. It's tough because Nick, when you talk about being a different person on camera, I truly think Nick is a wildly different person on camera than he is off camera.
He's carefree on camera.
He's so subdued and chill off camera, and he has this this charismatic persona. On camera and on stage too, when he's performing comedy, he just has this ability to turn it on in a really fun way. But I always loved stomping through the hallway intentionally during the morning show, knowing that I was gonna come and do some kind of stupid bit.
He's so scared of you.
It was fun. I was sad when you guys swapped the shows, and I know
the emote lives on. The 11:45 emote lives on. Everybody loves that. Don't worry about that.
Yeah, I know.
God, my favorite Nick Andrea story doesn't even involve you being there in person. but it
Yeah.
was that, you remember this where I told you about it, where it was a company thing, we were all at the mall eating, and I forget how we got there, and I started giggling, and they were like, what? And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I'm happy we live in this reality, but I wish I could glance into the other reality where Nick is married to Andrea. And without missing a beat, Andy just goes, she'd own your bitch ass. And Nick immediately was like, without missing a beat, he's like, yeah, totally. I'd drive up in my BMW and be like, I don't like it, but Andrea said we had to have matching cars.
Oh my gosh. I also remember like that when we did the meowing in the bank bit.
Yeah.
And I lost because Joey sabotaged me. I've never like simultaneously been like, thank God this is fucking over, and also so furiously mad because
You were riding a wave of emotions.
well, I just like I knew that I could beat him, but you guys kept saying Scarpino's got this thing. For some reason, we're all better at games than he is, but he keeps fucking winning. We don't understand why. And I knew I should have just done what I wanted to do, which was challenge him head to head in amplitude.
Yeah.
And I knew I could have won that, no problem. But I wanted to
heartbeat.
make it more fun
Yeah.
for the viewers. And obviously, it turned into this crazy big thing that ended up being better anyway.
Did I not say that? That gift from Corey is my favorite. One of the best ones of all time. Griffey D-Pad says, what will you miss most about Kevin? What will you miss least?
What? I don't know if there's anything I would miss least, but I love Kevin. Kevin's great. It was so funny. When I first started working with Kinda Funny, everyone's like, just give it time. You're going to hate Kevin as much as we do. It's like, what are you talking about? Kevin's great. What I really love about Kevin's personality is he's like this like happy-go-lucky, bubbly guy, but like when shit needs to get done, he like turns this like producer Kevin face on and can like whip the cables around and move the cameras and do this, and he can like restart OBS and do all these crazy production things that stress me out. When that stuff goes wrong when I'm live or doing video productions, like I get super anxious about it, and Kevin is just like cool as a cucumber and just comes in and just like touching all the buttons, doing all these things, and then afterwards he'll like have that moment where he's like, all right, it's done. And I think like people never get to see that side of you, and how like I remember the days in the bedroom where it's just like Kevin in the corner, like running all the knobs, doing all the things, and like
For the record, I love this as an out of context quote. I remember Kevin in the bedroom, over in the corner, turning all the knobs. The real
love you, Kevin.
Augie 009, and I love you too, Kevin. We couldn't do it without you. Andrea, I really enjoyed your contributions, your style, and your professionalism to Kinda Funny and What's Good Games. I hope I can raise my 3-year-old daughter to be half the woman you are. My question for you is, who do you think in your life helped make you you? Thanks again for your awesome content and What's Good. Y'all have done great. Thank you for your awesome content on What's Good. All you've done on Kinda Funny. Looking forward to what happens in LA.
The first person that comes to mind, of course, is my mom, Teresa, and she's been such an inspiration to me throughout my entire life. But it started from a young age of her always making sure that I was encouraged to try anything I wanted to try, no matter what activity it was. She wanted to support me being there, and so I did literally any and every activity I could find. And she never once told me, you can't do that. She always encouraged me to follow my passion and to figure out what I wanted. And I was a handful as a kid. If you think that I'm like bossy britches now, you have no idea what I was like as a child. And like having her be there to be a leader and to be a role model as a single mom who was working full time, you know, in the military, and then going to school at night, and, you know, raising 2 kids and going back and getting her master's after getting her undergrad, you know, because she joined the military as a non-commissioned officer, meaning she didn't have higher education when she started. And, you know, once you've started, you can't like go back and start your ranks over. I mean, I guess technically you can, but who would want to?
Yeah.
You know,
Can't burn that XP.
Yeah, and just like kind of seeing her set the bar for what leadership means. To become the first, you know, female chief master sergeant in North Dakota, and like getting that honor, and having somebody, a really strong woman like that in my life, to say, you can raise a family, but you can also have a career. You can choose one, or you can choose the other, or you can choose both. I want you to choose what's best for you, and never at any one moment her saying, you can't choose this thing because you're supposed to do this thing, was super empowering for me. And I don't think many women get that growing up.
Yeah.
I think this generation coming up is going to get it more. But back then, when I was a kid, you know, 80s and 90s, like the women's movement was just beginning, and we still have a long way to go. So seeing her and having her always be in my corner to say, you can do it, and back me no matter what, even though I'm so convinced she doesn't quite understand what I do, has been invaluable to me and has been super, super awesome. And then my best friend, Deanna, who lives in Sydney, we met in broadcast school when we were, I think it was my junior year of college. I was studying the TV and radio program at Cal State LA, and she had flown in from Sydney in the same program. And she went off to work in broadcast television, and I went into digital media. And at the time, I was super jealous that she got a broadcast gig because digital media was just starting, and I was like, felt like I was like, at the kids' table, and she was like on prime time. But I saw how hard she worked for this thankless job, like up at like 3:45 in the morning to be there for the like morning show. And she, went on to become their head of digital. And like having a woman who also had the passion that I did for the entertainment career that we had, and seeing her grow and having our struggles together reminded me that like you can't go it alone. You have to find somebody to share your stress with, so you have somebody to share your joys with, your happiness with. It doesn't have to be a romantic partner. It can be a friend. It can be an online person in your guild or your clan or whoever. But like having her there since the very beginning of my career and like seeing me through it all the way has been invaluable as well.
I want to double back. I think it's a dated question because as it was percolating in my brain, I identified it, and I know behind me too, multiple women on the wall. Yeah. But do it's your mom showing you didn't have to choose, right? You can have the family, you can have the career. Again, back to what we were talking about, being a female in this industry, it's all, there is a look they want, there is a type they want, blah, blah, blah. Do you worry about that? Like, you want to have kids. Like, do you worry about that being an impediment to your career?
Absolutely. It's something I definitely thought of, particularly when I was on GameStop TV, which was like a monthly recurring gig I did for 3 years. But I was like, are they going to still want me on the show if I'm like 7 months pregnant? How am I going to continue to do my show? If I get pregnant and we have What's Good, like who's going to edit the show every week? At what point do I have to take a break? How long is that break? Because when you run your own company, as you know, you have to be there all the time. And the benefit is you have the flexibility to decide what kind of content you do and what kind of money you make and this. But the downside is when you need to step away, there's nobody there to do your work.
Sure, there's no net, right? Yeah.
Right. There's no PTO for me. There's no disability leave. There's none of that. Right. And so when I'm not working, the company's not making money. I'm not making money.
Yeah.
And so that's a real concern I have as a self-employed person. Any self-employed, mother or father out there probably has the same concerns of like, how do I take care of myself and my future children? Yeah. But as a woman on camera, like I think about it a lot. And I'm so glad that it's better now than it was even 5 years ago. When I was really trying to decide like, are kids going to be part of my future plan? After John and I had been dating for like a year or so of like, is this the man that I want to start a family with? And obviously yes, but
still deciding. Jury's out, Drake.
But I look at some of the other women in our industry that are just crushing it. People like Trisha Hirschberger, people like Felicia Day, like Jessica Chobat, like Ashley Esqueda, right? Like people that I love and respect who do on camera work that said, hey, it's okay to step away and it's okay to come back. Yeah. And it's okay to embrace the fact that you're a mother and to love being a mom and to talk about being a mom. It doesn't have to be this like dirty private thing. You can like do both.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in the last year, I'd say there's been 2 or 3 of our friends who have had medical scares that have been like, I don't know what's about to happen kind of thing. And when that happens, the first thing I usually do is text them like, whatever. Yeah, I mean, I hope if you need someone to do your shows, we will do your shows for you because I know what that's like to miss a show. Like, and I'm always like, we're not looking to put it on our site. We're not looking for money. We'll just carry the torch till you're back to where you need to be because I know how terrifying that is. And back to me aging out, like that's the weird thing I think about of like, I wonder when Jen and I start having kids. And I start talking about that, and that inevitably leads to whatever weird parenting podcasts I'm going to do. You know what I mean? Like, there's a segment of our audience that, as they grow with us, wants that, and that's the weird balancing act, right? Of figuring it out.
Yeah, of course. There's tons of best friends that are parents. We see them come out to the events with their kids all the time.
That's my favorite thing now is the amount of kids that are coming to Kind of Funny Meet and Greets. We got to drink less of these things, guys. I think you kind of hit it, but let's just toss it out for the hell of it. Sarah Morris writes in patreon.com/kindoffunnygames and says, "Hi, Andrea. Thank you very much. Just want to say it's been great having a strong female voice on the shows. Growing up, video games always seemed to be for the boys, and I'm glad the industry has people like you proving that's not the case. I wanted to ask, who did you look up to when you were new to the industry? Were there any voices that really stood out for you? Best of luck with everything in LA."
Female voices specifically?
I mean, I don't. It's your interpretation of it. I don't know who you look to for inspiration.
Well, there wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
It was like Morgan Webb.
Yeah, and Chobot, right?
Well,
Yeah.
Chobot and I started at almost the exact same
Really?
time. I remember because I auditioned for that job, and
really?
Chobot got it. So bad. But I mean, Morgan Webb to me was it. You know, I mean, obviously Olivia Munn was on, but I didn't look to her for inspiration. Not that she's a bad person or that her choices were bad. I just knew that she wasn't the type of on-camera presenter or host that I wanted to be. And so I didn't look to her as like, oh, I want to be Olivia Munn. And because for me, it's like the people that were in the industry that were on camera, like on broadcast TV, because I was still like my primary goal when I first started was Adam Sussler and Jeff Keighley, right? And you know, they're both doing wildly different things today than they were doing back then. But you know, I had a meeting when I was at Machinima working on the programming team when I just was not getting any on-camera opportunities at all, and my SVP pulled me into his office and he's like, "What do you want to do here? Like, what's your goal? Like, where do you want to go in this industry?" Like, because they could tell that I was like unhappy in my role. And I said, "I want to be the first female Jeff Keighley of video games." He executive produces his own shows. He hosts his own shows. He does a lot of his own content. He writes and edits a lot of his own content, which a lot of people don't know how hard Jeff works behind the scenes.
Jeff's one of the hardest workers in the industry.
He's amazing. And I had a lot of respect for him. And that was before I even knew him personally, before we started working together at Game Trailers. And I was like, nobody trusts that I can do that. And I don't know if it's because I'm young, because I'm a woman, or just because I haven't actually worked at a broadcast network yet.
Sure.
And I never really got answers as to why, what it was. I can make my own hypotheses about why. But I just kept running into this wall where people were like, you have to pick a lane. You can't do both. They're like, you either have to be behind camera and work in creative development and content strategy, or you have to be a host only. You don't get to be a producer. You don't get creative input. You do what we tell you to do. Yeah. And I was like, that's not going to work for me because I want to be on camera, but like, I can't just take direction without any input. It's just not in my DNA.
Sure. That's a different kind of creativity, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the thing is like, I want to make it. I don't want to just read off a prompt or somebody else's words and go.
Right, exactly. And which is why eventually when I was working for GameStop TV, I eventually convinced them to let me write the show. The writer they had was a perfectly lovely person and she was doing her job. But I said, I need this to be in my voice. Yeah. I want to have input. I want to make this feel authentic. It's never going to be authentic when I'm reading a script that I don't get any input into. I would like to write the show. And so I did a whole bunch of sample scripts and I sent a bunch of stuff and then they eventually hired me to be on the show and to write the entire script for everybody. It's like you have to make those opportunities for yourself. And if I didn't push every single position I've had to be like, I need more, I want more, let me spread my wings, or I'm leaving, then I wouldn't be where I am today. Like I got accused of being a job hopper, and they were like, people, in the middle of my career were like, you can't stay at one place, and I said, it's because I haven't found the right fit, because I haven't found somebody who believes in my ability. I believe that I can do it. I know that I will put in the work to do it. Yeah. Maybe somebody else doesn't believe in me, and that's fine. Then this just isn't going to work out. I'm going to keep waiting until I find somebody who does, and then What's Good Games was born.
That's awesome. I believe in you, Andrea Rene.
Thanks, Greg.
Thank you so much for all your years of friendship and servitude here on Kind of Funny. Is that what I don't know, employment? I don't know what you call it, all the content you've created with us.
Just wait, I'll send you a secret bill for all those shows that I just dropped into.
Damn it. That you didn't, John's been adding up the little 5-minute bits here and there. Of course, people can keep up with you on What's Good Games.
Yeah. So obviously the podcast services, hopefully you guys are subscribed. You can, financially support us at patreon.com/what'sgoodgames. If you want to keep up with me me, Andrea Rene, at Andrea Rene on Twitter is the best place to do that. It's where I post new projects I'm working on, who I'm interacting with, shows that I'm guesting on, stuff like that. It's my social media platform of choice. I'm trying to get into Instagram, Greg.
Oh yeah, I love Instagram.
I know, and you guys are so
different.
good about it. I just like most of the pictures I take, I don't ever like to post. I don't know, and I'm not into selfies.
Yeah,
and like I feel like Instagram is like the place for selfies.
It's true, it is. Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I just need to take more selfies.
But it's funny, like my Instagram, I can't promote anything on it. Because if I do like, I used to put up like, here's what we're doing at PAX. Here's the the thumbnail for the thing. Like any of the things I would do on Twitter to advertise a show, they do well on Twitter. You do it on Instagram, nobody cares.
Yeah,
they want it to be like the authentic, like whatever. And I'm like,
they just want pictures of Porty.
It's a photo album. Oh my god, it's all people want of it. But now Jen's stealing them all. I digress. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been We Have Cool Friends. Remember, each and every Monday we come to you with another one of our cool friends doing cool things in the cool world. If you like that, be a cool person. Go over to youtube.com/kindafunny. Subscribe. Rooster Teeth, you can watch it there too. We're a potty. We're an audio podcast you can go get. It's going to be a fun Gamescast after this one.
Yeah.
No matter where you get the show, consider supporting on the other platforms. It would mean a lot if you left a review, subscribe somewhere else. I understand you only get it one spot, but it'd be cool for us if you went to others just to say you were there. Remember, of course, if you really like the show, you can go to patreon.com/kindafunny. You can get the show ad-free there and submit your questions for the Friend Zone. Next week, the guest will be... I don't know. We're not going to edit that in, but we don't know when we're putting this one up. So whenever it goes, you'll know there's a thing and a person coming. Until next time, it's been our pleasure to serve you.